All right, hello everybody. I am King of Prussia. I'm here for the AAR as promised of Imperial Diplomacy A2 Aster. It doesn't say that over here, but now it will. And joining me, of
There we
course, is
go.
is the illustrious Salt. Say hello.
Hello, hello. Hope we're doing good.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to be recapping our amazing games in Aster, which were always amazing and went really well, and it definitely didn't ever go poorly, right? And that would be
No,
crazy.
no, of course not. We only win games here.
Yeah, so for anyone unaware, Imperial Diplomacy is a 25 player variant encompassing the world from the year 1642 onwards. So, you have such powerhouses as England, France, Spain, Portugal, and lesser known powers like Abyssinia, Ajuran, Mali, and Aymara. So, without further ado, I guess we'll get right into it. I was playing as France right here, which starts with blue and blue and blue and blue. And Salt was playing as Russia, which is a bit more contiguous. So, Salt, take us away with what your thoughts were here?
Yeah, so Russia is a pretty big power. Not as big as the colonials, of course, but 10 centers all in kind of this continuous line, right from Moscow to the east here. So you'll notice that there are a lot more neighbors to talk about than your usual powers. So I'll start in the west here, and I'll kind of go to the right from there. So my strategy in the West here was mostly just to kind of solidify my own alliances here while making sure my the other players didn't ally against me, which is a lot easier said than done. So pre-game, my plan was mainly to kind of grab my standard centers of Bakhchisaray in the south and that pre-core as well in Shachi.
Shasha.
And I was
Yes.
hoping that could give me some nice ports in case I ever wanted to go against the Southern powers. So Ottomans were probably my biggest threat in the long term because if I ever want to expand south, then the Black Sea is going to be a huge pain unless I can get fleet control there pretty soon. So establishing that early on was a big priority of mine. And in general, having control of that for Russia allows a lot more expansion routes, allows for an easier attack on Poland,
Yeah, you can get kind
and
of this thing going.
really it just makes it. Yeah, you can go, if you can get a fleet and destroy the Ottomans early on, then it makes Russia's life a lot easier. So in that vein, I kind of wanted to work with Poland early on against the Ottomans, and that kind of decided my alliances from there, or at least before I got to chatting with anybody. So if I wanted to attack the Ottomans, then what I would need to do was get early alliances with Poland. So if I'm working with Poland, then I'd probably need to give them some kind of promises against these Swedes up north. So I was also considering some early moves against them. And Persia was also another big power I wanted to try to work with early on. I figured that Persia could also get some nice expansion in if we attached um, like Turkey together, and they could get the southern centers, I could get the northern centers, and we kind of continue in that line.
Kind of get like a this border going.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. I think Tbilisi would probably be mine,
So
and
like
Trebizond, yeah, kind of like that going. I think that gives them a nice start into the Arabian Peninsula as well, which I don't think any Persian player would really hate. So that was kind of my initial alliance structure in the West early on.
mm-hmm.
And in the East, my main worry in the East is Qing. Because if you notice, I have three armies, and Qing also starts with three, but I think they're a lot better. They're a lot better spots than the Russian armies. So Qing can walk into about 3 centers guaranteed
Yeah,
here.
he can go like this,
Um,
this, and then this here supported by this army, like that, basically.
those are the exact moves I was really concerned about because if I'm Russia, right, which I am, I want to go into Karakorum, turn 1 and 2 mens.
Do kind of like this, and then you want to go here, basically, I imagine.
Right. But if Ching is pouring the south into Karakorum, then that really doesn't work,
Yeah,
and
because
that
you,
cripples my early expansion in the area.
yeah,
So I was trying to find a way to somehow still work with Ching in a way where they wouldn't attack me early on, while kind of giving them that split without having to fight for it. So what I did, or what I was planning, was to actually send one of those armies further towards the east to Siberia here.
so you're thinking like
So I would,
there.
no, I would send Irkutsk south still to Karakorum, and then Krasnoyansk, or however you pronounce that, would go to Saka in the north.
Up there. Ah.
Yeah. And that way I could still get my +3, because the other arm would go to evens. And then
Okay.
in fall,
You do
I could walk evens into Chukchis
like
and then
this.
backfill that. And then that way I still have the growth I need, and I still have a relatively peaceful border with Qing. And hopefully I could get some kind of alliance there to either crush Qing immediately or work with them and kind of expand south against Japan and Mughals maybe in the center of the continent.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that Qing wouldn't immediately attack me turn 1 there.
Yeah, because they have a good position to do whatever they want, and any builds they get are going to be like army, army, army. Like that's what they're
Yeah.
going to do.
I think Qing's best move in this variant is to attack Russia immediately and just never stop attacking Russia. So
I think
it's
that
going to be a very hard job convincing them not to.
yeah. I mean, the only thing my concern when playing Ching, at least, I played Tokugawa in A1, the first edition of this variant. I did an AAR with Florida Man on that, and basically as Japan, I always was thinking like, oh, Ching is like easy for me to take. So if you're playing Ching, my biggest concern, honestly, wouldn't be Russia necessarily, because I think Ching is, like you said, is very well positioned to fight Russia. But if Ching doesn't act against Japan very early and get something like this going, and get like a second fleet out here maybe, then I don't see a way Ching can ever actually take on Japan.
Right. Because Japan, after turn 1, is going to build 3 fleets, and then there's nothing Qing and Ming can do about it.
Yeah, unless they
Like,
like,
even with Russia and the colonials, it's still going to be a very difficult fight for anybody to take on
yeah,
Japan.
like if you want to fight Japan and you want to start your fight after the first year, you're going to need Qing, you're going to need Ming, you're going to need the Netherlands, you might need Spain, and you might need like a Russian fleet to do like this kind of move, right? Excuse me, I'm having
Right.
difficulties. Here we go. Like
Which I was
this.
actually planning to move there in the beginning, too. So I was planning to have that Pacific Fleet early on, in case that was something I wanted to get going.
Yeah,
I think Japan could be a very good ally for my position here if I ever had issues with the two Chinas. I just need to be careful about Japan getting too out of control because their fleet presence in the Pacific is just not anything Russia can really contest. Not without a lot of coring
yeah.
and a lot of fleet builds
Like you have to
and
core like
any
3 of these
confident
dots.
Japan player. Yeah, and any confident Japan player is going to see that and immediately know that Russia is going to attack them sometime.
Yeah, yeah. They'll act preemptively, as the Japanese often do.
Very often.
So, any other thoughts about the Russian position?
I think it's very unwieldy at the beginning. You have a lot of centers, but especially in a central Asia, if you zoom in there,
Yeah.
um, you'll notice that while there's a lot of centers there, Russia can only really take and hold one of those. Turkestan is pretty much the only center Russia gets, despite having the two armies there, and even then, it's not even a guaranteed center. If Mughals go into their guaranteed center and Safis take Bukhara, that's 2 units right next to
Yeah,
it.
you can kind of get like this thing going.
And yeah, which is pretty much what most powers will end up doing unless there's some kind of year one war. And most of the centers there are going to people that aren't me. So it's going to be very difficult to exert control over that area. And in the long run, I'm going to need a lot more time and a lot more armies if I'm ever going to want to take that over, just because my home centers are a lot farther away.
They're
So
far away,
any
and
attack,
they're far away. You're also limited by the fact that you have only Kazakh and Akmala to move units in. Like you have a very limited rate at which you can actually propel reinforcements forward, as compared to
yeah,
like
Turkestan has 2 tiles that I can move from it, and in the south there's 4 that Safids and Mughals have to potentially take it. So defending that is going to be a massive pain as well. So if I ever want to make progress in the south here, I need some kind of friend that's going to support me, or I'll just be forced to fight a defensive war, and I'll probably not be able to hold Turkestan if that's going to be the case here.
yeah, you'd get stuck along like right along here because like the upside I guess of this is that getting beyond this line, if Russia can actually defend it, is just pretty much impossible. There's no way you can actually break into any of the dots.
Yeah,
But like as Russia, you don't want to be forced to use like 4 or 5 armies to defend right here. You want to be, you want to use those forces to go this way or like this way or even this way, like something other than sitting and defending.
yeah. There are so many angles that Russia needs to block um, attacks from that if they get caught off guard at all, then it kind of can just lead to a downward spiral. Like if I'm forced to use 5 armies to defend an attack from the south, then my west and my east become pretty vulnerable, and that would lead to a pretty dangerous situation.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind
Yeah.
of my thoughts before I got to the press in the first phase here.
Okay. So I guess I'll go on to my thoughts as France. France is a colonial. You have your mainland, which has 5 dots. You have North America, which has 5 dots up here in Quebec and New France, kind of. And then you have Caribbean, which you have 1 dot in Haiti and 1 dot in French Guiana. And then you have 2 more dots down here around Madagascar. And so, for France at least, the question is how, because France, as a colonial, starts with 14 centers, and you need to get 56 to win. So the question is how you can coordinate all of these moving parts to get to your victory condition. And so my thinking was pretty straightforward, at least early on. I was thinking that these 2 centers down here are dead in the water. I don't think that France can long term establish a good presence here. At least I don't think it's worth the investment. Because you have 2 centers here, and like they're decent. You can get a couple of nearly guaranteed builds in Bara and in Mpondo by kind of hopping around like this and doing that. But then you'd have to build 2 more units, and you're just going to be outgunned by everybody else in the region. Portugal gets to start with 3 units, and they can build 3 centers here if they want to. And I don't see why they wouldn't, even if they didn't get 3 builds out of this region. This is a very good place for Portugal to be. They can monopolize Madagascar. They can monopolize Africa with these armies they have. It's just very good for Portugal to be here, and I don't see any reason for them not to be here.
Yeah, there's no early way to attack them either.
Yeah, there's nothing France can do to Portugal here. Just nothing. Ageron is a regional power with 4 centers, so they will always be watching. They will always be ready to pounce on any moment of weakness, and there's not much leverage you have against them. Like even with Portugal as France, like you don't have many areas that you're bordering directly other than this. But like if Portugal attacks it, they do have to think like, oh, what is France gonna do with French Guiana? What is France going to do up here near the mainland? And that kind of limits them in some ways in my thinking, with their attacking. But Ageron has no such limits. Ageron only has to worry about Africa, and so if Ageron gets a moment to strike, they're going to take it. So my immediate thinking is that this is a write-off, this is a loan. I've been given a loan of 2 centers from Flair, the creator of the map, and I have to use it somehow to build an advantage somewhere else, because this is not going to last, this is temporary. So with that, we'll move on to that somewhere else I was talking about. I'll go to America next. So my thinking, at least in North America, my thinking is that this entire area north of Quebec is just a mess. It's painful to fight in. You're kind of vulnerable here, but you also kind of can strike north, and it really depends on like momentum, and if you have one of Athabasca or Inuit on your side, then you're doing okay, but like that's not guaranteed, and it's kind of difficult, and I would rather just kind of ignore it and put like a couple units here, like about there, and be like, whatever, I don't care about the north. What I would prefer to do is I would like to focus on the south. So my thinking is France, with regards to North America, is that your best bet is going to be to take Seneca, to take Mohawk, and then to take Portland and Boston and cut England out of the equation. Just put a line here and say, England, you don't get to have a North American colony, you don't get this, you don't get this, you don't get any of that, because it will be much, much easier to hold down here rather than up here, first of all. Second of all, a lot of dots, obviously. And third of all, when you have Portland and Boston, and maybe St. John's, but that's harder, you can project power this way. You can project power very easily this way and this way into the North Atlantic Ocean, which is very good because France mainland is over here with a port that's only 1 stop away from the North Atlantic Ocean. So it's very, very good, in my opinion, to take England's colonies away from them and to core them and to be powerful that way. So that's my thinking with Quebec.
Definitely.
And then, of course, that pairs pretty neatly with France's other colonies in the mainland. So in the Caribbean, Cap-Haitien and Cayenne look like they are far away from each other, just by distance, but they're actually not that far away from each other, because what you can do is, if you're not a coward, so most France's, what they'll do is they'll just be like, oh, free dot, I take dot, I like dot, this is good. But if you move your fleet this way instead, then all of a sudden, if you move your fleet here, for example, things are looking pretty good for coordinating these 2 fleets. Of course, as in North America, where I was like, this is a good position to be in, I would like this very much, moving your fleets like this does happen to aim at a certain power, right?
Yep. England is probably not going to be pleased about those moves.
Yeah. So, in making what I consider the best moves to unite my disparate holdings and to give up on this 1 dot outpost, it would make England rather upset, which is something to consider when negotiating with England. But on the bright side, if you can use these units in the Caribbean to your advantage, and you can take control of like this belt, like these 4 centers specifically as a base to build off of, then this is good at projecting power this way towards the North Atlantic, this way towards the South Atlantic, and south to Poland and west into the Caribbean. This is a very good base, a very good place to start building an empire. And so that's what I'm looking at with regards to the Caribbean, is year 1, move here to like kind of freak out England with Puerto Rico, and then move back to take St. Domingo, and then Cayenne move north and grab Barbuda, and just lock England out and build something here. This is what I'm looking at. So that's all well and good. Obviously, England can like make moves to respond to that, but we'll get to that in a moment. In the mainland of France, my thinking is that the mainland of France is not necessarily where you're going to be getting a lot of dots. You feel kind of limited on how many dots you can actually get. Attacking south as France this way is quite difficult because you only have these two land provinces and this one naval province to try to apply pressure on Spain. The problem is, to get that set up, Spain is going to see it coming a mile away. Because you're going to need an army here, because to get armies into these two provinces, Aquitaine and Occitania, you're going to have to already have armies here and armies here that can do this without getting bounced. And you're also going to need to have a fleet, like say a fleet here in Corsica or the Ligurian Sea. And Spain will also see that a mile away and will ask for like a bounce or something to make sure that you can't cause them any problems. So my thinking is that fighting Spain is kind of meh at this point early on in the game. You can't do anything to them, and you're just going to waste units. So my thinking in Europe is that you just want to take some dots, take Luxembourg, take Strasbourg, take Genoa, and chill, basically. Use your position in Europe to leverage a non-aggression pact with Spain, and with Austria and with the Netherlands, and use your loan from your Madagascar colonies and just completely try to dominate this, like, kind of like this as an empire, right? Like, this is what I'm really looking at. Is taking this and coordinating this.
Connecting your colonies is probably the biggest priority that a colonial has to accomplish in order to make it far in this game. If you can get like all those one dot colonies and the positions all the way out in the middle of nowhere together and combine those, then it's a really powerful spot to be in. And I think the stronger colonials are the ones that have the easiest time doing that. So
Yeah, like
Spain definitely, yeah. Spain definitely would be the strongest colonial because they already kind of have that one huge area where all their units are together.
Yeah, and their smallest colony is like still Philippines, which is okay. Like, this is a decent colony. It's not very good because like you have like this and this to deal with, but like overall, you know, you get like 2 dots, you get a couple of builds, you're okay.
Spain definitely doesn't have any of the one dot colonies anywhere that will most likely just be consumed by the nearest power, which definitely helps a lot in that regard. I think England probably has the second best time at doing that through the North Atlantic. If they can connect their North American colonies to their homeland, which is easier than France, then they can start to become really, really big. But with your plan here, you're kind of just doing that same thing.
I'm just kind of stealing England's idea and being like, look at my idea, it's so good.
Yeah, you're just stealing whatever the British do. You're even taking their Caribbean stuff. So any good position for them, you're just kind of taking over.
Yep. So that's my broader.
Pretty well.
That's my broader plan. It's just to link everything up and to kind of secure North Atlantic, secure like a nice barrier between me and the North Atlantic, and just use this position to squeeze everybody else. Spain especially. Spain in the long term, with the position I envision with North America, the Caribbean, and Europe, it's gonna be me and Spain who are gonna come to blows at some point. For sure.
Right. So with that in mind, who do you think would be your biggest powers to work with?
The Dutch, clearly. I mean, it's going to bear out later in the AAR, but the Netherlands for France are probably your best partner early on, especially if you're looking for any sort of anti-English setup, like I kind of am here, because you have a lot, you can pressure them really well in Europe, because you're going to have just more units than them in Europe, like forever. The Dutch are never going to really be able to touch you in Europe, both because you have more units and because getting from Ghent to Paris is just monumentally difficult without making it very obvious that a stab is coming. And the other thing is that with that leverage in Europe, oversized leverage, by the way, because in order to win in this variant, you need to have your capital, this thing. So it doesn't matter if the Dutch have a ton of leverage everywhere else in the world, which they don't really, but even if they did, they need this center to be able to win. So that's France's kind of power in this relationship. The other thing is that the Netherlands is very well positioned to coordinate with you on important matters. They have this army in New Amsterdam. This is very good at applying pressure both this way towards England and this way towards England. Very useful if you're, say, trying to fight England. They have this center in South America, which, if you're cooperating with the Netherlands, can just let you have a free center in Caen and not do anything. You can just have a free dot, not have to worry about it, and that's very nice. And then, if Portugal, say, causes you problems over here in your African colonies, then, luckily for you, you have the Netherlands, who has a bunch of stuff in the South Atlantic, and can just go take away Portuguese Brazil. So, and then, of course, with regards to Spain, Netherlands long-term with fleets in the South Atlantic can help you apply some of that pressure both this way towards Spain and Portugal and this way towards Spain and Portugal. It's just a very, in my opinion, from my analysis on the map to start with, it was a very good relationship that you could build.
Yeah, with their help, you can also maybe push west in the mainland here. I think France and Austria are two powers that are pretty likely to fight early on, and Netherlands can definitely help sway that fight if you need them to.
Yeah, because if Netherlands with armies here or here or here can apply pressure on this flank, which will be crucial in pushing things forward.
Definitely. Even if you're just planning to hold, those armies will be pretty crucial if you want to keep that position.
Yeah. So I guess with broader tactical and strategic considerations out of the way, what was your press looking like before spring of year one?
Yeah, so I started with the usual of trying to make alliances with every neighbor I possibly could. The biggest thing was that my pregame plan just went completely out the window. Poland, the first Polish player just was not around for the first 24 hours of press at all. So instead of trying to work with Poland, I immediately started to make plans to kill him because they won't work with me, then they gotta go.
May as well get out the knife and get a nice little cake going right here like this and just partition it down the middle.
Yep. It's always pretty nice to have a power that isn't responding right on your board because it's very easy to organize a coalition on them. Sweden was very happy to agree to attack Poland, probably because Poland was not doing press with them.
And they were getting kind of nervous about. I imagine they were getting kind of nervous about this fleet right here that could do that.
Yeah, Sweden probably was a bit worried about that. So he wanted Gdansk, Königsberg, and I think Brandenburg out of that deal, which are all centers that I don't care about too much. I don't think if Russia is going to work with Sweden, then I can just never have any centers on the Baltic ever, because Sweden will just take them off me if I get anything close to that. So I'm perfectly fine with letting Sweden just kind of have that area to themselves. And Austria as well. I talked to about it, and they were a bit more not willing to join in. They wanted to go grab the dots to their west and then maybe stab Poland year 2.
Mm-hmm.
So this is mostly just me and Sweden trying to stab Poland here. And originally I was going to commit to that, but I'll get to that in a bit. Ottomans also were not giving me the most pressed here. So as soon as I saw Poland wasn't responding, I kind of stopped trying to push my plan of attacking them. So Instead, I started pitching to Ottomans the idea of not only working against Poland, but also against Persia here. I did offer them support to Derbent in fall. One of my main worries here was that with this like 3 center area, I really did not want to end up with the point where Safavids are in Derbent, Ottomans are in Tbilisi, and I'm in my own center there. And then the three of us would all try to get the other to support them into someone else's dot. So I wanted to create some kind of tensions between Ottomans and Persia to get them to bounce in that center, that space between them, Sinuik, I think it's called.
Yeah, right there.
That one. So I wanted them to kind of not trust each other and bounce there for security, and then I could have my dot, and nobody could take me out of it,
Not
and
only could
that would
nobody
be a
take you,
really
not only can nobody take you out of it, but if they want to get their dots, they're going to have to beg you to let them in.
exactly. I could play Kingmaker there, make an easy friend, and I'd have the guaranteed core to build a fleet early, and that would help a lot in future expansion. So I want to create as much tensions between those two as possible. So I was messaging Safavids a lot to try to create some kind of tension between them and Ottomans. I I don't remember exactly what I did, but I did try to create some kind of plans. I told them the same thing, that I'd support them into Tbilisi if they ever wanted to, and I kind of offered them a split of the Ottoman dots to gain if we were ever to go to war. And I think they were somewhat intrigued by the idea. I personally thought that they would go for it. And we also agreed to split Central Asia with the
Mm-hmm.
Persians. So, they were fine with me getting Turkestan, which is all I really cared about. I don't think they have a good reason to kick me out in the first place. Not that they really can, since I can support in, but having permission and saying I'm going to do a certain move, even though they probably assumed as such, is probably a good idea just in case. It helps to build trust early on, so it doesn't hurt at all. So I told them I'd go to Turkestan and I wouldn't bother them in Khiva, and they were pretty happy to hear about that. And Mughals, I made sure I told them that they could have their own center in the area, so that one right there. And I tried to pitch a anti-Persia alliance with them too. They were She was a bit more hesitant than I wanted, so I don't think I was very successful there in getting Mughals interested. But year one is all about just getting guaranteed gains, so I figured I could work more on that and try to build up that kind of relationship earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And the East was probably my biggest worry here. So the Qing player is a very well-known alliance player. From my own past experiences with him, he likes to kind of pick one power on the map and ally them for the entire game. And I really wanted to make sure that that power was me and not anyone else. So my biggest fear here is that Qing just kind of attacks me year one and just keeps going north. And that's a situation I can't really stop. If he wants to pull those kinds of moves, then I'm either forced to defend forever and hope that somebody from his south attacks him, and even in that case, that other person gains a lot more centers off it than I would, and I'd be set up for a really weak position in the east long term.
Yeah, because then as soon as Qing is gone, the power that stabs them is just doing the same thing that Qing was doing. They're just doing this again.
Yeah, they just keep going north, and it'd be the same deal. And the other option would just be to give Qing the whatever dots they wanted and go some other way, which is also a terrible idea because if Qing takes my own cores here, then they have a pretty easy attack into the rest of my home centers. So there's no really point for where it makes sense for Qing to draw a line and just go somewhere else, I think. There's no power north of me for them to attack next. It just still be attacking me, just taking more and more of my lands.
Yeah, all up to like here,
So
pretty much.
yeah, and they've only stopped there because someone to my west would probably see that I was so weak and take
Just,
that before Qing could get to it.
yeah.
So I really tried hard to ally Qing, and at that I was actually pretty successful at. Japan wasn't talking a lot early. Qing was giving the most press to me, from what I could tell with other people in the area. He wasn't giving a lot of press to Ming or Japan or anyone else, from what I was hearing. So I felt pretty good about our relationship. It also helped that I did agree to give him a Karakorum, which is a pretty major change for my pregame plan. So I committed pretty hard to opening to Siberia here. So I would send 2 armies that way instead of the one that most people would expect from that position.
This thing again.
And yeah, so the way we agreed to do it was that I would open to Karakorum still. And instead of just kind of chilling there, I would instead give that center to him, and I would take Turfan in fall.
Okay.
And so that would give me a pretty good setup into Central Asia as well. I could use that position in fall to support myself into Yarkand.
Like next year, yeah, because you have to get here first, but then you can kind of.
Right. And that would also give me like some kind of pressure for Persia, and it would make the alliance with them a lot better for them, because not only would we be attacking Turkey, but we'd be attacking Mughals as well. I think that'd be a lot better pitch instead of just simply attacking one neighbor. We work together on 2 separate targets here, and I think that started to sway me more towards a long-term alliance with them. That was mostly day one, so the stuff in the south and the east didn't really change at all from that plan. But Poland got a sub, so that changed a lot because this sub was really talkative, did a lot of really good press, and he had a lot of plans going in. It was actually his first game of diplomacy ever, but I did not get that impression at all from him. So he played a really good job here, and we actually completely changed the plan here. So instead of the anti-Poland coalition we had going with Sweden, Austria, and kind of Ottomans, we instead changed that to an alliance against Sweden. So me and Poland drafted some plans to go against Sweden early. I would go to Karelia with my Novgorod army. Moscow would still go south. Astrakhan would still go south. It would really just be Karelia threatening their home center there. And the idea there was to kind of force them to abandon Narva. So Poland could get that turn 1, and we could support into Helsingfors and take that kind of spring year 2.
Kind of get this type of thing going. and then they have an army here to
Yeah,
support you in.
and Poland agreed to move their fleet to Baltic. I think they had a deal with Sweden to DMZ that tile, so
Tragic.
Sweden wasn't expecting a thing. Sweden should be sending their other units completely to the west here. So Poland would make them guess on those centers. I'd be pressuring them from the east here. And my fleet would go up north, take Spitsbergen and Spal. And then next year it could pressure Sweden in Trondheim. And if I got into the right position, I could convoy into Norway and pressure them from that way. But I was thinking of sending my second fleet towards the east here, so that wasn't part of the plans we made.
Yeah.
And
But all in all, this is a
Sweden,
crushing attack.
yeah. I don't know how Sweden defends this if they don't see it coming, to be honest.
Well, the thing is, at least in diplomacy, is that you have to have a very realistic view of bounces, especially. So, like, if there is a spot where if an enemy gets a fleet into it, you're dead, you need to bounce that. You need to go to them and say, hey, I'm going to this sea tile. We can bounce, and that's chill, but, like, I have to be there. Or, because if you get a fleet there, this is just too much. Like, Sweden's position.
Sweden can't handle a hostile fleet in Baltic, or they just crumble.
Yes, like,
It's very easy for a Swedish player to kind of see the four dots that all their that they can reach and go for that, and kind of do the play of demilitarizing Baltic and hoping that Poland just moves to their own guaranteed dot instead, which I think that's what Sweden was relying on,
yeah, Sweden was
which kind
thinking
of
that
makes
Poland.
sense.
Sweden was thinking that Poland was going to have issues from this direction and then from this direction, and that Poland was just going to chill, and Poland was going to have to try to fight in the east and the west and maybe the south, basically.
Yeah. Any plans I made with Sweden was to always just grab dots in year one and go after Poland in year two and just kind of attack them however it went. We weren't planning any serious tactics at this point here, and they were still pretty confident in that from what I could tell. Everyone else on Poland's other side was kind of still gung ho about sticking to the original plan to attack Poland. Towards the end of the phase, though, I think Sweden started to get a little worried about things they had been hearing about me and Poland potentially working together, and they were pretty much worried about the exact thing that we ended up doing, which was attacking them.
Yep.
So instead of the plan we had of attacking Sweden, Sweden instead goes to me about 3 hours before the phase ends and proposes bounces in Pula and Pskov with
Yes.
their armies. And this kind of threw all of my plans in a wrench because I can't let Sweden have these armies here, but I also want to have these units in better spots. Because if I have to use that fleet to bounce Pula,
Yeah.
then I have to use my other fleet to go and take
I guess,
Spitsbergen,
like this.
which is possible, but I want to send that fleet to the east to get started on things in the oceans and the high seas tiles, and maybe like start working against Japan or Qing, or however that went. So I was pretty committed to not having that fleet in the west at all. So this kind of threw a massive wrench into my plans. So what I decided to do here was I told Poland first of all, and Poland wanted me to just kind of let Sweden take Pola, and I would bounce Piskov, which I didn't like for obvious reasons. I don't think having a Swedish army next to two of my cores was that great of a plan.
Yeah.
But Poland really liked it, so I kind of pretended to agree to it, and then I dropped into some tactics myself. So what I considered doing was doing the reverse of moving into Kola and bouncing that and letting Sweden have Pskov. And in that case, my army would still remain in Novgorod, so I wouldn't give any of my cores up. I would still be able to defend them all. I could still use my fleet to claim Spitsbergen, and I wouldn't be as well set up for an attack on Sweden. But Sweden also would not be gaining as many dots either,
He would
as if
he
they're
would
bouncing
both
Kola.
he'd both be unable to attack you, but he also would be unable to get Sean time.
Yeah, so his expansion isn't great either, and his army is kind of stuck in that center position. Then maybe my fleet in Spitsbergen in year two could come down and claim Trondheim,
Yeah, get caught.
and that could give him a lot of pressure as well. And with Poland attacking, I still think that that goes pretty well for us. We were also talking to England about potentially convoying into Bergen to provide even more pressure against Sweden. I think we promised England that they get Christiania out of the stab. So
Yeah.
we made a group chat and we all kind of coordinated the moves that we would be making. So I think England agreed to move their fleet into North Sea, their army to York, and then they'd be pretending to move to Scotland, but instead they'd convoy into Bergen, and we'd all just kind of collapse in on Sweden from there.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
kind of the main plan that we had going. I think that's the biggest things I had going. I also had some early plans to expand into Alaska. Obviously, not year one, but I was kind of planning on maybe doing that in year two. So I made some early comms to Inuits, Athabasca.
Athabasca.
Yeah. And I think you too, to try and see if anyone would be interested in stabbing the
Inuits primarily.
Inuits. Yeah, so I was kind of trying to work on that and get that started, though it'd be something I would join year two, I think. And I was trying to get them to leave me alone in Chechnya in Siberia, so I was trying to make sure that that dot would remain open for me to claim, and anyone would claim like Koryaks, Japan would go Hawaii, and then everybody would be happy, and nobody would claim the dots that I wanted. I think I had some moderate success with that. They all seemed to agree to that. Shoshone was also in that chat, and they had some reservations about that plan. So I think that player wanted Hawaii, but it got sorted out pretty easily. So everything was fine there, and I was considering attacking into North America in year two if that went well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's everything on my end.
Right. So yeah, you had a pretty regular opening plan with like a regular size stab with another power onto a third party and some crazy ideas about expanding into North America. I took a little different tack. Like I said in my analysis, I figured that this was where you wanted to be in North America. This is where you wanted to be in the Caribbean. Let me draw this again. This, you want this, and that the long-term position you wanted was to dominate the North Atlantic and to pressure this way and pressure this way. So there's exactly
Right.
one power in the way of all of those plans, and the capital of that one power is in London. So I...
Pretty close to France.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this was a lot of setup. I'm going to explain the stab now in full. Let me look at timestamp on my OBS. 49 minutes in, we're finally going to get to the stab, I guess. Maybe people are interested. It's in my void in Aster as well if you want to have a quick read-up. But basically, so the first step of stabbing England is to make sure that the Netherlands are going to go along with it and going to be chill. Because one fleet in the English Channel does nothing. England can just ignore it and build another unit here and here and just kick you right back out wherever you land. Oxford or Plymouth or London, doesn't matter. If you only have one of them, England is going to laugh in your face and kick you right back out where you came. And then the European attack is worthless. So the Netherlands, I had to get on board immediately. I proposed the entire plan I'm going to explain to him, and he went along with it basically. This is Netherlands was played by Hansha in A1 Imperial diplomacy. I played Tokugawa, he played Ming, and we were allied for about 10 years until that eventually broke down over some tension involving Ayutthaya. So we had already had previous experience. He kind of knew that I was kind of crazy, but I was kind of good crazy with planning attacks. And so he agreed to year one push Amsterdam into Southern Bight. And then the key in this plan in Europe is because what England's going to do is he's going to go Plymouth out here. He's going to put Oxford this way, London this way to get all his centers. And that's all well and good because if we attack conventionally in Europe, then we're going to end up having a fleet here, and we're going to be unable to touch Oxford. However, as you'll see, if you have an army that gets across the channel into Plymouth, well, then you can pressure Oxford very easily, can't you? It just takes a France who's willing to be a little liberal with the centers. So with that in mind, that's the European attack, is you want to get all these units across and get units into Britain and force him out, force him back, right? So with the Netherlands on site, that's all well and good, but there's a lot of other setup that needs to go into this to make sure that I can actually get this stab off in England, because it's very complicated. Obviously, it's a colonialist, a lot of powers going on. So step number 2 is England and Portugal. If England and Portugal are cooperating, then England is going to have extra builds because England and Portugal both have 2 units in India. And like I said, if these two cooperate, then England will get like this center and like this center or this center. He'll get 2 builds over here, and he'll be able to, devote builds to this mess or what will become of this mess. England he'll have a good enough time. He'll live. And obviously that is unacceptable. England cannot be allowed to survive. So I spend a lot of time carefully alienating Portugal from England. First step of that is to kind of insinuate to Mughals that, I might have some hostile intention to England, that England might be weaker than usual, because Mughals is played by Cassandra. She's a very powerful player in her own right. And I don't have to interfere much. I just kind of have to hint to her that I'm kind of on her side, and we can coordinate a little bit and press to get these two to distrust each other. And that's all well and good. The other thing I do with regards to Portuguese-English relations is at one point England and Portugal are having negotiations about centers and about who's going to get a bunch of centers. So they're trying to work out India, and because they're colonials, what they can do is they can, Portugal can say, England, I'm going to zoom out to illustrate this point. Portugal can say, England, I am going to give you this center and this center, and that's fine. But in exchange, I want you to give me this center here in Greenland so that we come out even across the world. It's a very reasonable thing, right, Salt?
Yeah, I think that works. If you're not aware of what's going on.
Yeah. So that's all well and good. It's a good even trade. So England, and by the way, this is the next step of the plan. In order to get England to not trust his other neighbors, I was proposing to England from the very start of the game that we were natural allies, we should always be cooperating, and that we should be sharing press we're doing with other powers so that we can coordinate and make sure that we're not going to get stabbed, that we're not going to get screwed.
No. England.
And I am being mostly honest with my press, right? So like Spain and I are having the normal, like, let's do an NAP, let's do DMZ, and I'm telling England everything that Spain is telling me. England is getting told, not verbatim, but like the general those broad strokes. Like I was getting Corsica and Genoa, and Spain was getting Sardinia, and we were DMZing the Gulf of Leon, and everything was chill. And so England, the only power that England didn't get told, like the only power whose press didn't get told to England, was my press with the Netherlands. I told England instead that the Netherlands was being kind of uncooperative, but that we should really be doing a triple, so we need to make sure that we're both doing friendly press to Netherlands. So that's all fun. This is getting kind of... it's complicated, so I'm sorry to any viewers if it's getting a little bit in tangent, but oh my god.
Royal dynamic. So often are.
But this was quite a stab, so I kind of have to just tell everything. And then, so yeah, like I said, England and Portugal are negotiating. England wants dots in the, and Portugal says, okay, then I want this center in Greenland, which Portugal can do, because Azores goes here, then Azores goes here, and everything works out just fine. And so England, because we've been sharing press, England comes to me and says, okay, Portugal and I avoided war, we are chill, I'm going to give him this center in Greenland, and everything's going to work out fine. And I said to England, no, I don't like Portugal being here, because then it impacts our long-term ability to work together to take our centers in North America and attack Inuit like this. It's harder for us to pressure Inuit if we can't go up the coast this way, if we can't do this and get this kind of thing going on this center that Inuit will have. And England
does actually make a lot of sense.
Yes.
Having Portugal in that area does impede a lot of traffic through the North Atlantic.
It is mildly annoying. But what England does is England goes to Portugal, and England says, hey, Portugal, I'm sorry, that deal doesn't work, because France is not comfortable with having you here. Right? Which is true. That is what happened. I told England that I did not want Portugal to be in Greenland. That happened. Portugal comes to me, because I'm doing press with Portugal too and being friendly. Portugal comes to me, and Portugal says, hey, France, England told me that I can't be in Greenland because you don't want me there in Greenland. Which is true. I say to Portugal, England is crazy. I never said that to him. This is some excuse, and I don't know why, but he's lying to you, and he's trying to, to throw you off and to just get a center for free. And so now Portugal and England are going back and forth, and England is telling the truth, and Portugal is saying, WTF, WTF, dude, you're lying to me. You just don't want me in Greenland. So
that's brutal.
You see how insidious this plot of mine was.
And they both trust you too.
Yes.
That's really well done. So by the way,
England was played by a player, Damien Reeve. Hi, Damien Reeve. I don't think you knew this was happening until now when I explained it, unless you read my void. But yes, this is why Portugal didn't like you very much early on, because you were telling Portugal the truth, and I told Portugal lies. So yeah, that was a very that's how Portugal and England got to fighting, and the Mughals liked that very much. Cassandra, great fan of this idea that these two were going to hate each other. So yeah, that was very good. And I'm sure she amplified this mistrust like 1,000 times by telling each other.
I imagine she had a fun time with that.
Yeah, when these two distrust each other this much, like Mughals just really has a good time. Like there's no other way to put it.
Definitely.
So yes, the other things that I was doing, like I said, NAP with Spain. Spain gives me Corsica and Genoa. It's a really generous deal for no reason. Spain could absolutely be like, no, France, you're staying north of this line. But I don't know, Captain Meme, he was being kind of generous, gave me Corsica. I wasn't going to complain about getting an extra dot. No, I was just going to take it. It's whatever. The other thing I'm doing is I'm going to I'm going to Poland, because Poland has a colony right here. And so, what I'm doing to negotiate with Poland is because Poland is going to do one thing. Poland is going to take one of these dots, he's going to build another fleet, and he's going to take the other dot, and he's going to sit there and wait for something to happen to get more dots. So I don't need to negotiate with Poland by myself to stab England, right? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, Poland will just go along with whatever plan is made.
So Poland is another power with which I am just telling Britain everything in our negotiations to build up that trust even more. And of course, there was like some minor disputes where I made England distrust Poland because like I wanted Barbados and Poland wanted Barbados, and there was this whole thing, and that was all well and good for me. So that worked. The other thing I did is that, and the other important thing about this stab, now that all the specific things are over, is that in every conversation I was having with every power except for Netherlands in Mughal, I was telling them that my plans were to go kind of this way, or this way, or, this way, or, this way, or this way. I was not insinuating to any other power that I was going to go that way, or that way, or that way, right?
Makes sense.
Like, I was just playing out as France normally. So there was a whole lot of setup, as you can tell. This was a very, very... Like, I do not believe that there is a player... The only way that you can get out of a stab like this as England is you have to go to France and you have to say, I am moving London to the English Channel in year 1. We must bounce.
Yeah, but England has 3 guaranteed dots they can take. They're not likely to do this unless they hear that France is aggressive. And with the way that you've set this up, you kind of set it in a way that where England's most trustworthy source of what's happening on the board is coming from you. And so, in this variant in general, it's very generous game. Like, you get a lot of guaranteed centers to pick up. Most countries' bills are very high. So the general agreed upon best moves for year 1 is to just take every dot that you can and start the real game of choosing targets and coalitioning people in year 2 and beyond. So most people don't even expect to be attacked in the first year, which just makes this even more brutal. Because I don't know how England sees this coming unless somebody tells them, and the only person that knows about this is you and Dutch right now.
Yeah.
So unless Dutch rat you out here, this probably goes off pretty well for you.
Yeah. The only players who can stand up to the stab are the ones who are going to be like, nope, I don't care. We're not getting into any of this crap. We're gonna bounce. Every other player, there's no way to see the stab coming. Basically, you just can't. There isn't. Which is to say, England, it's not your fault that you got erased. It's fine.
England drew the one France player that would turn 1 attack them.
Brutal stab. Yeah, I mean, this was, I will say, this stab was planned out months in advance because this was the best opening I thought France had.
I do think it's really well if you can take out England quick.
Yeah.
The last thing you need is a very protracted war.
Yeah, no, protracted war with England as France, you lose. That's why I'm doing this, is because if you all get set up as England and France, if England gets all of that consolidated and all of this consolidated, you're never touching England. Like, England can build 2 on the English Channel, you can only build 1. Here, 2 on the English Channel, you can only build 1. England can build more fleets here. They have Bermuda, they have Norfolk, they have Boston, they have St. John's. England can box you in and crush you like you're like you're nothing. So if you want to fight England, you have to do it immediately, and that is my plan.
Yeah, and it looks like it'll be a pretty brutal attack on them too.
Yep. So with that, anything else before we get to the spring moves?
I think we're going to move on.
All right. So with that, it's been 1 hour and 4 minutes, and we are going to see the first moves.
Isn't that fun?
Right. So we'll zoom out and moves of spring of, what is it? Spring of 42.
There we go.
Yes. So,
yes.
I'll start with me, I guess, to just for continuity.
Yeah.
As you can see, Spain and I, we all get along. I'm getting dots in Europe for free. England does not see it coming. He just does what I said, moves for centers, and English
Oh
channel
wow,
falls
that's
7 by 5.
completely away from you.
Yep. The other thing I didn't mention was just some tactical nuances in North America. As France, if you move your units correctly in the first year, what you can do is you can prevent England from getting to build. So, with this bounce by the Netherlands, and with my unit in Massachusetts Bay, Estrier, and Mont Royal, I can put myself in such a position, basically, take Portland and England can't build. Basically, it's a long story short. But the way this attack unfolds, England will never get to build in either of these centers because I tactically outmaneuver him, as you can tell. Which, I mean, I can't blame him too much, I guess. But
Yeah, he's got two armies against so many enemies. It's never gonna happen here.
yeah, like you'd have to do this to avoid that whole thing. Like, to avoid this, you'd have to
Yeah,
expect it a little bit. In the
you
Caribbean,
have to know.
yeah. In the Caribbean, I do kind of what I said. I did the Cayenne to Guyane Current thing. Cap Haitien, I moved to Antilles Current first. This allows me to pressure Bahamas and Puerto Rico while still having this guaranteed in St. Domingo, which it just screws with him a lot, basically, because that's what I'm doing at this point. Indian
Yeah,
Ocean, just going for dots. There was like a bunch of negotiation with Portugal where Portugal really wanted these dots right away and wanted me to go this way. But going this way is more dangerous, and I don't expect to keep these anyways. So I just, tell Portugal like I'm getting these dots or we're going to fight. So I got those dots. Other than that, I think that's about it for my moves. The Dutch move cooperatively. They bounce England here in Connecticut, which is all well and good because it means that England is even more boxed in. And yeah, it all goes to plan, as it was. So how did your moves go, Assault?
so these moves are a mixed bag for me. The first thing I want to focus on is Sweden here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you notice, Kola was supposed to be a bounce and it was not, which is actually huge for me. I now have an army next to two Swedish cores, which really gives Sweden a lot of early game pressure. And with Poland's fleet in the Baltic Sea and their army approaching their pre-core in Narva, Sweden's position here is almost immediately under a ton of outside pressure. This army in Kola can really do a lot. I have to be wary about Sweden not taking my own core here, but if they do, then I can take their centers. I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, and if they do, then you just put
And
an army here, you put an army here, and you just kick them
yeah,
out.
there's nothing that they can really do. They kind of have to pull back to defend here. Uh, Poland can pressure them really well. Poland can probably take something off them if they get a guess right. And even if they don't, that position in Baltic Sea is going to be really hard for Sweden to kick them out of, especially if they build a fleet in Gdansk, which they definitely will from my own talks with Poland.
Yeah.
Ottomans and Safavids did not go nearly as well for me. I was really trying to get those two to bounce to avoid the situation where I would have two armies next to Shachi here, but these moves in general scream that these two have established DMZs and are making trustworthy moves to one another and moving away from the other, and this is everything that I don't want to see from them. So,
This is
these
basically
two,
this is basically what I'm saying to you, like, hey, you're not going south of this line. In fact, you're probably not going south of like this line.
yeah, it's going to be extremely hard to push south if those two continue to work together. And from these moves, they're definitely have some kind of agreement together. There's no way you make these moves without some kind of trust, right? And that trust has just been confirmed, which is just really bad news for me, right? Is the only alliance these two can plausibly make is against me.
Yeah, it's like it's against you, and it's like maybe some long-term ideas in this direction for them. But even then, this is kind of
Yeah,
like,
it's 90% anti me here, which is really not what I want to see. Um, all four of Safavid's armies are moving north, which pains me to see.
yeah.
Mughals make the moves I expected her to, and Qing, Ming, and Japan all make the moves that we agreed upon. So there's no real issue there. Um, yeah, other than Sweden, everything kind of came out how I thought it would.
So it's looking like we're both in decent positions at least. Yeah, I mean, this is a bad thing for you, but other than that, I mean, I think that this looks okay. This looks pretty good over here. You're getting most of what you want, and I'm getting most of what I want.
Yep, we should both see some decent early growth here, I think.
Yes. So then, like I said, the tactics of fall are that, at least with regards to me, this is just kind of important to mention, is I'm thinking that the best way to kill England is to get this Dutch army, which is now in Ghent, across the channel like this. Which I mean, I don't know, you are also good at tactics. I don't know if you would have seen, like, this idea coming, basically. But from my analysis, this was the best thing that we could do to pressure England.
Yeah, most people just assume that the army just takes the free dot instead of the convoy, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. I think the hostile fleet move from Dutch into that space next to England's capital raises a little bit of a question, but I still think it's pretty hard to see that convoy coming.
Other than that, like, tactically, it's about normal. I guess we can touch on other areas of the world, just to make everyone feel included. So Shoshone is kind
Yep.
of doing their own thing. Athabasca and Inuit immediately have like a pretty decent alliance going, just from all these moves going away from each other.
Yeah,
Spain,
they got some Cecil spaces demilitarized from the looks of it.
yep. Spain is going for dots, no surprises there, and being mildly annoying to Aymara, which is just going to happen in every game with Spain, I think.
I think it's really interesting that Aymara didn't bounce a Peru base in there.
Yeah.
I would think that they would in most cases.
Yeah, I don't see the value proposition, I guess, of going here, because I don't think you're ever going like the best you get out of Cordoba is a bounce with Mapuche. So there's not really a point of like trying to fight them over it, because what are you gonna get, right?
Yeah, it's not really a point to seeing that fleet south. You're just kind of needlessly picking a fight,
But also you're kind
and
of,
Spain is right there to capitalize on it.
yeah,
Spain moving everything south too. Wow.
yeah, they something something that L on Aymara said at the start must have offended Captain Meme, because yeah, oh no. Let's see. Other than
Not
that,
what I would want to see.
yeah,
Africa looks pretty interesting.
yeah.
That hold from Mali is one of the moves of
Timbuktu.
all time.
Molly's probably, if I have to imagine, they're like, no, I don't actually
You can
know.
just take Timbuktu and Falls. It's not that bad. I just
I
don't know why
guess,
you wouldn't
no,
go for it in
I guess the,
spring.
like the concern is England like doing kind of like this, and then I guess with the army here, you can tell them I'm going to bounce you and force them to go be normal. And like similar
Yeah, if you think you're
thing
getting
with the
into
Dutch
Aja,
there.
I can kind of see that.
Like, I mean, I can see the idea. The only problem is if Portugal is unorthodox and does this, then you kind of have problems, but not really. So I don't see any issues with it. I think it's innovative, I guess.
Mali can afford to kind of do whatever it wants for the first year. It's very safe power in the beginning.
Yeah. Other than that, Abyssinia and Azeron established an alliance immediately, actually, which I picked up on
Yep.
press.
Neither making hostile moves.
Yeah, they're chilling. They're having a good time, which is worrying for me because my entire thing is like I want this whole area to just be as chaotic as possible to let me keep my dots for as long as possible. But oh well, not much I can do to control that. And my Dutch ally in the east is having a very good time. Nobody's trying to take Taiwan from him. He's probably going to get Okinawa. He's going to get a bunch of.
It was good to see.
Going to get a bunch of dots in here. He's going to get this dot because he has an army in Sumatra that can support him in against Ayutthaya. If Ayutthaya tries anything, it just looks very good. And yeah, I guess
Mughals have a really nice turn one here with Portugal not bouncing them out of Hyderabad.
yeah, like this is very good for Mughals. England and Portugal are not going to get along in this position. Mughals is immediately going to get this center from England, and this center over here, which is a pre-core of England. Mughals is just having a good time in year one. It's looking very good.
Yeah, I think England and Portugal kind of need to work together in that area, or Mughals just kill them both.
Other than that, Japan is having a pretty textbook year one. They're going for like this center and this center. It looks like Ming could be kind of hostile, but who knows? We'll see. Going for this center, and this navy in Edo is moving to the North Pacific Ocean, which is on both sides of the map. So don't get like dizzy if I start moving the map really quickly.
Yeah,
they're going for Hawaii.
steal a lot of those moves.
Yep. So then I guess in the fall, I'll start with me first, I guess, just for tactical considerations. England does not bounce any of these moves in because he was probably expecting that Oxford would not be threatened. Because if there, like I said, if there's a fleet here and a fleet here, then there's no threat to Oxford, and it's like whatever. But now there's not. So that's good for me. I got all the other dots in Europe as I'd expect. In North America, these are kind of the tactics I was talking about, where I can just go in and I can grab Mohawk, I can tap Boston, and this basically like forces England to like be screwed over basically. Although I think I might have missed the tactics a little bit here to force him. Oh, no, sorry. I was forgetting my tactics earlier this game. The key thing here is that no matter what happens, in year 2, I can put an army in Port Royal, and I march it down Massachusetts. And so even if he builds an army in Portland, it gets forced disbanded because I just crunch it from every side like this. That's what I was tactically planning. Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, you have twice the units on him, so very simple.
Yeah, he just gets crunched. There's nothing you can do there. Everything gets disbanded. Everything's fine. Athapaska is violating an agreement. He said he was going to sit in Ojibwe, and then Ojibwe we were not going to worry about in year 1. He breaks that agreement. I'm not particularly happy, but I can't do anything about it. So it's just a bad sign going forward. In the Caribbean, I just outguess England like 1,000,000%. I go for Bahamas because, dot. I like dot. And I don't go for Barbuda because I imagine he's going to go, I'm going to bounce him, and then if he tries to take Puerto Rico, well, then I'm good anyways. So no, you're not good anyways. You die.
Another free dot for you.
And this also, so this is a free dot.
Later.
Yeah, everything's free later. This is -1 for England. And what having a fleet in Sargasso Sea allows me to do is it means even if he builds a fleet in Bermuda to try to project power this way and kick me out, he can't. I have a fleet right here, and there's nothing he can do about that next year. Except use this one, but we don't talk about that. The other thing.
And he attacks Portugal. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So he's isolating one of his potential friends too.
Well, as you'll remember, these two don't trust each other because of a certain blue blob who lied to both of them.
Yeah,
and
that's even worse for England. They'll try and dot Portugal, and you're. Oh man.
Yep.
Yeah, England is not set up at all.
See, that's my fall, I guess. Oh yeah, I get dots. The Dutch had agreed to give me this dot. They don't want this dot, so I just take it. And Portugal convoys into Sakalava, and I don't understand like why. When
That's not a good move.
yeah, like this is just purely hostile to me. Except you can't do anything with it next year because I can bounce you in like Maha or Onihali Bay. It's just bad. It's just a bad
Ajuan
idea.
is moving everything south
Yeah,
too. Portugal's gonna need that army.
Ajuran is very clearly allied to Abyssinia, so I don't know. I don't quite understand, but such is life. How did your fall go?
Yeah. So after I ended up in Koa, when I did not expect to, I decided to commit pretty heavily against Sweden here. You don't get handed this kind of position only to make peace with Sweden, go home, and be friends. So me and Poland start talking some serious tactics here. So we have units on Finland, Umeå, Stockholm, and Narva. So we threaten about 4 cities Sweden can take, and Sweden can only defend like 2 of them. So it's kind of a question of which ones rather than anything else. I decided to leave Novgorod open. I think Sweden will probably predict that I'll bounce them out of it. I'm telling them that I will, but I don't think they really believe me, nor that they have a reason to believe me. So, what me and Poland decide here is that it's better to get the position on them than kind of a slow crawl. So instead of taking uh, Helsingfors, which is closer and arguably a better center long run for me to have, I take the one closer to their capital because we want to be able to support Poland in their spring turn one or next year. So Helsingfors is like probably guaranteed no matter what we do, so we can leave that for later. Take Trondheim or their capital next year, and we're pretty well set up here. So, like from these moves, Sweden goes, I think,
+1.
yeah. So they still have a build, but me and Poland are also building and building more. So Sweden's pretty. They're in a bad spot no matter what here.
Yeah, this
England,
this fleet in Baltic Sea is just a killer. It's similar to the fleet in English Channel. Is you're just like
yeah,
you just
there's
die.
just nothing Sweden can do about it once it's there.
It's not a problem. It's a dilemma.
Yeah, England not convoying into Bergen is a little saddening, but it's kind of. I mean, you kind of get why after seeing what happened to them. So I'm not.
He needs every dot he can get.
Yeah, England messaged me like almost immediately after the spring orders went through, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do the convoy anymore. I'm like, that makes sense. So it's just me and Poland versus the Swedes now, but I think we have the situation handled.
You don't say.
Yeah. Poland, I'm still working well together with, so that's going pretty solid. We actually are drafting some plans to attack the Ottomans. So the initial plan this phase was actually for Poland to support me to Archikiv, and take that from them. And I actually was trying to build up a pretty large anti-Ottomans coalition here. So I wanted to target them or Persia after seeing that they were so friendly towards one another, and I figured that it'd be a lot easier to get people to attack the large 10 center spread out huge power than it would be to attack a 5 center Persia. So I approached Socrates about potentially attacking Ottomans, and I did offer them support to Tbilisi. I kind of just tried my best to get them to take that support, and I was still talking to Ottomans about supporting them to Derbent, but Ottomans just flat out rejected the idea altogether. So that was a little annoying. So I couldn't get Ottomans on side to attack Persia. So that was another reason why I thought it would be a bit easier to get Persia to attack the Ottomans and start the war that way. And it was a bit difficult. I did actually manage to get Ottomans to agree to support me to Derbent somehow, which is why I ended up going there. Not that they ended up giving that support. And Spain was another big power that I talked to. I kind of hyped up the anti-Ottoman coalition more than what it actually was at the time. I made it sound like every neighbor of the Ottomans was planning to immediately dot them, when reality was not that. So Spain bounces them in that island there,
Sicily.
and I think, yes, I think Spain agreed to like kind of go after the Ottomans in Tunis too, but he wanted to wait after he took his neutrals first, which makes sense. Bouncing Ottomans Alexander was enough for me. I was feeling pretty good about that until I saw the news, of course. Other than that, some interesting negotiations around Central Asia here.
I'm just gonna center it here.
Yes. So Mughals kind of stirred a bit of a pot here. A lot more than I think she was intending to, but two things. So first of all, she's not staying put with that army. She's going to take Uzgen,
Yep.
which we did end up talking about, and the way this was pitched to me was kind of a better position to attack Persia from next year. So I was pretty happy to see this move actually, and I figured that it'd be pretty easy to transition from a Mughal army there, and maybe we could attack Vikara, or she could tap the army there, and I could take Khiva, and we could kind of transition that into a wider attack on Persia, especially if Kabul was getting a build. And that was kind of the general plans there. I tapped Kiva just to kind of show that I was more anti-Persia to Mughals here. I didn't expect to get it. I was hoping that I could bounce them out, even though it makes sense for them to support in. So I wasn't expecting to get them to get into it or anything, but I figured why not. I was pretty confident that nobody would try to contest me in Turkestan here. And me and Ching agree on our original deal to get Bean to Trifon here. We actually were a bit worried that Mughals might move there after we heard that she was kind of talking and trying to get a sense of what was happening in the area. I think she was talking to Ching about attacking me, and Ching just kind of told her that we were working together in the area. So we decided to kind of pretend that the Gravity Farm was like a last second change of plans, and Sheen supporting themselves into Karakorum is kind of show the board that maybe we aren't working that well together, and try to get people to not see that we're allied until it's a bit too late.
Okay.
The Pacific is also a little interesting. So the negotiations around here were a little harder than I was expecting. So the way this ended up was that there are about 3 centers and 4 powers that want them. So Chuckchus, Koryaks, and Hawaii are the centers in question. And my goal is to get Chuckchus, right?
Yeah.
So I want all of Siberia, and I'm hoping to line up for a convoy into um, one of the cores in Alaska here
Yeah.
in year 2.
Get an army.
So that's kind of my plan right now. So I need anyone's fleet there out, and I need it to not be in Chukchus. So the only way I can accomplish that is to get anyone to take Koryax, which would be a lot easier said than done because Japan also wants that with their fleet in the North
This one.
Pacific here. Right. So, for Japan to not bounce that, so my fleet can slip into Chukchi Sea, I need Japan to take Hawaii instead, which Japan will only do if Stone will not bounce them out. So the way this worked was we all got one big chat together, and we kind of divided these four tiles together. So Shoshone would get that island there, and
Alutes.
anyone's just would let them have it. Japan would end up in Hawaii. I would get Chukchis, and anyone's would get Koryax. Uh, Me and anyone's agreed to DMZ Chukchis Sea here, and I violated that DMZ immediately. The idea here was to get a kind of early attack on them. So my fleet here would kind of show the powers in North America that it would be a good time to stab north. And I was making a lot of appeals to Shoshone, Athabasca, and Japan to kind of join me in attacking Alaska and the rest of their cores next year. And the way that kind of worked out was that everyone said, maybe I'll do it in year 2. So I went ahead and made my attack, and I figured that after I showed them that I could get a pretty good convoy into Alaska in year 2, maybe I could use my Spitsbergen fleet to go to Greenland Sea and attack Arctic Ocean. And I kind of get those two fleets to attack from the north, work with some people in the south, and take a lot of dots that way and establish a colony in America. So my hope was in doing this that it would encourage a lot more people to kind of see blood in the water and jump on what they presume would be a weakened power. I did not account for Inuits using all 5 of their units to walk into 5 separate dots here, which does make things a little bit more complicated for me.
Yeah.
So they do double, and Athabasca seems pretty set on attacking you, which was not my plan. I want them attacking north, not south. So I'm trying to kind of desperately appeal them to maybe change course and go north here. And they seem somewhat interested in the idea, but they're not giving me anything concrete. And that's kind of my end of things here.
Alright, well, in that case, just look at other things. Portugal gets centers, Spain gets centers, Ottomans does this. I don't get it, but it happens.
It works.
Portugal
I mean, it
bounces
doesn't work, but
bounces Mali out of that center for some reason. That happens, I guess.
I think that makes sense for them.
Yeah, and let's see. There are other things that happen in the world. Ageron comes south. Abyssinia gets dots. England loses this as expected. The Dutch actually get Andaman Islands peacefully. You get to do like this kind of thing, and you get to get some threat on England by getting an Andhra coast, which is pretty cool. And despite the appearance of the moves, Ming and Japan cooperate and do not fight. So
Yes, I am still working on Qing to set their ambitions south instead of towards me here.
yes. All right. And Spain stabs Imura. Who could have guessed?
Crazy.
Yep.
That's Imara's still +2 here, so they have a chance to fight back if they're not attacked from the south here.
It's okay, but not great.
Yeah, it's still, you make a comeback there.
All right. Your two. So these are builds. So I guess we'll leave with your builds this time.
Yeah. So my main concern here is the South. Softfeed Ottoman Alliance is my biggest worry, and I need as many units as possible to deal with that. I debated a lot over building a fleet in the Caspian here, and I decided not to in the end here. I think a fleet Caspian kind of locks me into a war with Persia here, and I'm not. At this point, I'm still thinking that it's a better idea to try to fight in Turkey and work with Poland there and attack them instead of attacking Persia.
Mm-hmm.
So my main goal here is to make peace with Persia, to attack into Turkey and try to do that instead of the other way around. Because Mughals also, she's saying everything I want to hear about attacking Persia, but there's always that element of I'm not sure how much of it I can trust.
Yeah,
I think it's just a
I
yeah.
was gonna say, especially with because to some newer people in the community, you might not know, but Cassandra is, I think you and I would agree, widely known to be kind of a monstrous player at times, with how good she can be and how manipulative.
Yeah,
And so you,
she is very, very good at manipulating press and convincing people to do things that they normally would not.
yeah, like in Alpha One, in the Chrysanthemum game, I think it was Chrysanthemum. The pronunciation is hard,
Yes,
but she took Russia and soloed with it, and ended the game.
very impressive game.
Chrysanthemum started a few weeks after Aster started, but the game ended earlier because she won so quickly.
Yeah, so that's the kind of player that I have to deal with right on my doorstep. But this is Aster. Everyone is kind of a monster of a player in their own right here.
Yeah, almost everyone. What we have Captain Meme, who's pretty good. We have Bumble, who's like one world diplomacy. We have like Ambrosius is like he's solid, but like kind of I don't know if you get this vibe, but it's like kind of unassuming. So like you sit there and you're like,
It
okay,
helps that he's relatively new. He
yeah,
played in two A1 games, but that's the only games I've seen him in. So
yeah,
he's kind of like a dark horse in this.
and then he just comes out of nowhere and like slaps you across the face, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You have Bilbert, who's like monstrous as well. Like I've played in a game with him in a variant, and it was not fun. Everything he said, was a subtle manipulation, and it was just a ugh. I learned a lot from playing with Bilbert. Adron is strange, who is just like Bilbert, and then every word that comes out of his mouth was like poison, but like really appetizing poison you really wanted to drink.
Yeah, you want to believe him so much, but it's just poison.
Better than I work with him better than Bilbert, but like it's not really like they're just both terrifying. They're terrifying. Okay,
Yeah.
I was like putting a line here, and I was like I'm not going near them.
And they're working together too, which just makes it so much worse.
Yeah, I was that is just not is we're just not dealing with this.
Yeah,
No,
we're
thank
not
you.
going anywhere near there.
This is just us mentioning players we know. By the way, no offense to any other players. Then there's that guy, you know.
He's done very well in the past.
Yeah, he's also a bit of a monster, wouldn't you believe it? And there's Hansha, who's kind of like Ambrosius in that he's like unassuming, but he's also like very good at diplomacy. But we're
Yeah,
allies, and we're always allies, so it's never gonna go wrong. I promise.
of course.
I think those are like the known players coming into this area. This L over here.
Aymara and Mapuche are both really solid players too.
Okay, I didn't interact with Mabuche like at all this game, so I just forget who they were.
I didn't either. They were Conpope, who's also had
Yeah, yeah.
history of winning games.
Yeah, Conpope is also kind of a monster, so you know. We have a
There's no safe corner
yeah.
on this map.
They're not safe anywhere. So with that settled, I guess after your builds with a bunch of armies.
Yep. Russia needs armies to defend her borders. I'm not very threatened by the sea, and all my neighbors to the south are terrifying.
Yeah.
So, armies it is.
My builds, I build one fleet in Madagascar just to go for more dots and to kind of hold on to 4 dots with 3 units, which is pretty good. In Europe, I build one fleet in Nantes just to project power kind of this way and this way. I put an army in Dijon just to make sure Austria doesn't get any ideas, because Austria and I have established a border here. We're going to DMZ, we're going to be chill, which works for me because I don't want to invest in Europe too much right now. And I built an army in Marseille just to say to Spain, like, you can't stab me and get away with it for free. I have a unit here to stop you.
Definitely.
In the Caribbean fleet, I build a fleet in Cayenne to bring up this way, so I can start to really pressure England a lot in all these directions. And in North America, I build one fleet here so that it can go this way, and then out. And I build a few different armies because I've kind of realized that Athabasca is going to be annoying. So I need an army here to do this. I need armies here to kind of do this type of thing.
Yeah, you're kind of forced to split your force between them and England here.
Yeah, luckily I don't need any
You
more forces
still have the
to kill England.
overwhelming advantage against England, so I think you can manage it.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely manageable thus far. Other than that, Spain built a bunch of units over here. Athabasca built all armies, which is annoying because ideally he'd build a fleet and do this, but he doesn't want to.
Yeah, and you went double fleet Alaska is also a pain for
Double
me.
fleet Alaska,
but
double fleet East Coast.
see that
too.
coming. Yep.
Yep. Let's see. Other than that, Netherlands gets a bunch of builds because he actually got the spoils of this little adventure. So he gets army there. He gets armies here and here.
We have a plan with Dutch to kind of split the mainland centers from
yes. So
England at all.
So basically, what we're doing is we're kind of doing a loose like center trading type of deal. Because Cayenne could be his if he wanted it, and Plymouth is like by treaty. Plymouth is mine, right? But
Right.
but he needs to send us kind of more than I do to prop up his empire because he has all these like disparate holdings everywhere across the world, and I don't have quite as much of that. So for now, I'm lending him like Plymouth. I'm gonna lend him Seneca because I will not need it at the moment, and he's gonna let me hold on to Cayenne for now, and we're just gonna kind of be trading centers back and forth as needed.
Sounds solid.
Yep. Let's see. Other
It's
than
like
that,
things.
yeah. So Spain armies, Aymara armies, Mapuche fleets and army.
And then standard builds all around, I think.
Nothing too unorthodox here, I don't think.
Fleets from Japan makes sense. Qing building.
I will say
That fourth army in Qing's capital is a little worrying.
this is a sign that either you or Ming is a target, and it's not entirely clear based on builds who it is.
Yeah, Qing can still go either way in their direction right now, so it's still a toss-up between what power they decide to attack.
Yeah, Japan builds an army here. I don't understand why you would put an army in Kyoto. There's no good reason to do it, but he does, and so it is. And I think that's about it for build discussion. I guess I'm going to discuss my general strategy at this point, because my thinking right now is that like the death of England is clearly France becoming too powerful. I think we can agree on that. It's like if England dies, France is getting a bit too big for their britches no matter what.
Yeah, I don't know what your relations with Spain and Portugal are like, but if either joins the British here, then suddenly I think you're dealing with a lot more than you can really handle. Because you need to wipe out the British quick, or this gets a little bit
Messy.
dicey for you.
Yeah, so my relations with Spain are like decent. We kind of are in agreement on a bunch of things, and I've offered him half of England's Caribbean colonies, so it's like chilling. Portugal is not doing much press at all, and I'm very annoyed with him at this point in the game. Like he's doing press like for an hour before each deadline, basically, like something like that,
Oh wow.
and so it's just very difficult to do anything with him. But my thinking at least is France is obviously too powerful. There's nothing like there's nothing I can do, I don't think, to make people think, oh no, France is like okay, he can just do this and it's fine. So my strategy this game was to see how well, but just playing it up could work, and just like being belligerent and like kind of aggressively cocky, I think, and to see how far that could get me. Because my idea, at least, was at the time was to make people view this as kind of a foregone conclusion, and to be like, okay, France is going to grow really quickly and get to the victory condition, so I should work with him to eat all the centers and get there with him. That's what I was trying to kind of promote as a viewpoint. I don't think I succeeded, and you'll see why. But that's like what's going through my head at this time is I'm obviously scary. Let's just play into it and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think that works.
Well,
At least it can work. It's very dependent on what kind of players are around you. I think overly new players will just kind of attack the scariest player on the board just because they're so threatening. I think this kind of play is best to pull off with experienced players because experienced players will kind of see that they get more working with you than against you. But on the other hand, sometimes people will want to play more balance of power, and they'll try to save England before it's too late. And then there are some players who will try to be a friendly face and get England to be kind of subservient under them and save England in return for some kind of favors down the line. So it's kind of difficult to know who this will work on and who it won't.
mm-hmm. All right. So with that, moves, I suppose. And we can start with your moves, I guess. Salt. How's it cooking?
So it's going all right. The east and the west are both going pretty well for me, but the south is still just a whole mess. So I'll actually talk about the south first here, and this is probably the most interesting phase in the south so far. So right now, after I saw Safavid build a fleet in Caspian Sea, I start panicking because that is an immediate declaration of war with Russia, and I will never stop being at war with them, and I will kill Russia. And just, there's I didn't build a fleet Caspian Sea because I saw that as kind of like a
Permanent.
permanent war with Persia, and I was hoping that they would not do the same. Instead, I'm kind of left here with no real way to counter this. So the beginning of the phase is all about me trying to get some kind of deal with the Mughals to attack Persia together. And Mughals seem pretty willing to at first. We agree to attack Pikara here. They agree to move a lot of units in the direction of Persia, and we're still, or we, I am under the impression that we're both making appeals to Ottomans to work against Persia here,
Mm-hmm.
but Ottomans are just generally not responding. They won't make peace with me. They built two fleets on the Black Sea, so it's pretty clear that they don't see a war with Persia for them. They're very hostile, so I'm kind of holding on to Poland as an ally, trying to get as many units as I can to hold the centers I still have against the Turks. And I'm hoping that if I can make progress against one of them, the other will flip, and then the whole area will collapse. So I'm trying to get as many allies as possible against Safavids and uh, Ottomans. The African powers are kind of willing. Acheron's convoy into Arabia is actually really nice. Or is that a convoy? No, that's a
That's
fleet.
just a fleet
So
going up so far.
yeah, those two powers in general are pretty poised to attack the Turks and into the Arabian area. So I'm kind of trying to message them and encourage that direction, and they kind of confirm that that's the way that they're going to be going, which is pretty nice. I think Spain makes peace with the Ottomans, which kind of hurts to see, but there's not anything I can really do about it.
Yep.
And the real interesting thing is that after me and Mughals make this plan to coordinate our tactics in the area and which units are going where. I'm telling them that I'm going to attack Kiva and that Kazakh is kind of going to shift towards the Caucasus area. And about 10 minutes later, I get a message from Persia, and they apparently Mughals leaked that entire plan to Persia,
Of course.
and this whole thing happened in 10 minutes. So that was a pretty clear sign that I had to change courses and throw everything at Mughals, gives Mughals pretty much betrayed me the moment I shared any real plans. I'm not sure if that meant that they were against me from the very beginning or they just suddenly tried to change courses. But the fact that Socrates kind of went to me after getting that plan made me trust them a little bit. So we kind of worked on a peace deal here. So their idea was that their Caspian fleet would take Astrakhan, which makes sense because it can't do anything else really. So I would just give that up, and they would take Turkestan, and from there we would kind of demilitarize the spaces between Turkestan and my corps. And in exchange for that, they would help me into Yarkand and eventually into Delhi. And we would kind of work together against Mughals and eventually against the Turks as well. I was trying to get them to commit more and attack Shachi, maybe, or even better, support me in there, but they weren't willing to do so just yet. You actually see that I offered the support in anyways, but they did tell me that they weren't taking it, so that's something. Um, but yeah, I made a hard pivot into attacking mules instead of my original plan here,
Seems justified
and
given
that's
the plan leaks.
yeah. I really wanted to work with Mughals here, but I didn't see a way how after that happened. It was pretty clear that they decided to be a not friendly face to the Russians. So it's unfortunate, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
Mm-hmm. Don't I know?
Um, Elsewhere in the world, Sweden is continuing to go well for us. The bounces are not ideal, but also not unexpected either. Poland does get that second fleet, moves into Gulf of Bothnia, so we're setting up for Helsingfors and Stockholm in fall. And I think the plan is for me to get Helsingfors and Poland to get Stockholm. And Poland actually misordered in Livonia, so they don't end up getting Narva, which kind of hurts a little bit, but it's not that big of an error, so it's kind of fine.
Mm-hmm.
And Poland's talking about convoying into the capital here, so I'm trying to get them to just take it with a fleet. and I'm not sure how receptive Poland is to that, but I am very worried about a Polish army in the area taking more dots than what would be an even split, because I'm hoping for Trondheim and Bergen out of this, and I'm hoping Poland takes Christiania, Stockholm, and Gothenburg, and that's kind of our agreed upon split here. So I think an army in the area would signify that Poland intends to betray me.
Yes, I agree.
So I'm a little worried about that, but I think me and Poland are going to chill for the time being. And we are actively attacking the Ottomans south. So we kind of just end up doing a fancy hold. None of the units move here. But Austria actually joins us to attack the Ottomans, which is huge. So we got a lot of different knives into the Ottomans back here. Uh, Abyssinia is attacking, Ageron's attacking, Austria, me, Poland,
Kind of Spain.
Spain, kind of. The Ottoman move into Rif actually is super nice for that reason. I think Spain actually intended to make peace with them, and then Ottomans immediately attack Spain from the looks of it, which is always nice. So hopefully Spain gets back in the fight, especially after seeing so many people attack the Ottomans. I'm trying to get Portugal to join us for one of these fights, but they didn't end up getting a second center in the area, so there's not a whole lot Portugal can do to sway things one way or another.
Yep.
And in general, I wish Poland or Portugal and England could work together in the against Mughals, but it just does not seem like that's happening. I've tried to broker peace between the two, but they both seem pretty set. So I just kind of gave up on it and just let them do their thing. Asia's going pretty well. That bounce between me and Qing is coordinated, and we both agree to it. So all's fine there. I've actually been talking to Japan and Ming for a while now against Coalition and Qing, and this is the turn where that kind of all comes together. So I kind of had a choice between allying Qing and using my armies to go into Central Asia here and do kind of a long walk towards Mughals and Persia, or I could work with those two and just kill Qing and get a lot of dots from that.
Mm-hmm.
So this turn is kind of non-committal for me. Since that bounce is coordinated with Qing, I'm kind of trying to make it look like I throw my lot in with Japan and Ming and I'm attacking them, but in reality this is coordinated with the Qing and they know everything except that move into Buryatia here, and I just kind of play that off and say that I was worried that they might walk in. I just want to be safe. In reality, it's just me trying to set up for a attack and fall, which is the plan that I'm leaning towards. I haven't decided yet at this point, but seeing the success that me and Japan are having, I think that's the way that I'm gonna go. Evens is a core, so there's two options I have here. I don't actually have to complete the core, but it does look like to Qing that that's what I'm going to do, so they won't suspect if I decide to suddenly move towards them with that army.
Mm-hmm.
And Tokugawa won't see that as hostile either, because I can sell that as a move to get a fleet against Qing. So I'm hoping that's kind of another non-committal move. And I'm actually going to stab in Koryaks as well. So we kind of, me and Hun, who was playing, what's the power called again? Can't remember.
Which one?
The one in Alaska.
Inuit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So me and Hun kind of he was pretty mad about the Chuck's Sea Fleet for obvious reasons, but we kind of agreed to go our separate ways and make peace and all that. And we're actually kind of talking about a potential stab on Japan here. If I move to the north to Impio and kind of sneak into Japan's back door here, and he'll do this thing on fall, and that way we'll have like a bunch of fleets that could sneak into Japan's capital, and we kind of go that way, which is interesting. But I think it's better for me to work with Japan here if I can, because they can help me a lot more against both China's instead of trying to kill them. So I just kind of nod along, and I decide to dot for Koryaks instead. The thought process here was that I could kind of take this dot, get Atha to attack as well in North America, and this kind of momentum would carry, and Athapaska would do most of the work in taking centers, and I could kind of have time to reconvene, get a second fleet over, and then convoy into Alaska once they were kind of forced to move their fleets out and defend. So that was kind of the plan going in. I think the moves in North America kind of line up with this.
Kind of,
So
yeah.
Atha does, they do move north, which I do like, but every other army is moving away. So it's hard to tell what their real goal here is, because right now they can't take any centers unless something just left open in Alaska. So, and they're coring with that unit too. So it's just kind of, I don't think they're gonna help me out here,
Yeah.
which is very annoying.
Yeah, this
And I'm
doesn't do
not.
anything.
Yeah, they're throwing everything south, which is the one direction I don't want them to go in. They're attacking Shoshone most of it. They're pressing against you, and they're attacking every direction I need them to not attack in. So it's just really the opposite of what I need here.
Hmm.
And I'm not set up for Arctic either. So my Spitsbergen fleet moved south instead to Greenland Sea, so I can't pressure from that direction. So right now I'm kind of fighting the 10 center fleet based power with a single fleet in the east, and that's all I have. It's really not the ideal. So I'm hoping to get some allies in Tokugawa or Shoshone, maybe. And I'm hoping that somebody with the fleets will see the situation and kind of convince them to dot. And that's kind of my best hope at this point.
Hmm. Okay. Um, my moves are mostly tactical, so like there's this bounce with Poland, which I kind of agreed to and kind of thought that I might land to, be annoying and take a center off him. Other than that, I'm taking dots. I'm kind of fighting England down here. I'm doing the tactical thing where England is being forced to disband an army. He'll be forced to disband another army in the fall. I'm forcing him here to commit two fleets to actually get him if he wants to do anything. Inuit and I were having some discussions about attacking Athapaska, and I went along with attacking Athapaska because Athapaska had taken Ojibwe, which was a violation of our deal. But and then of course Athapaska and I agreed to an arranged bounce in Ektekemeku, which I violated by taking it, obviously.
Yeah, there's not really a point to being friends with them in this
I mean,
situation, I think.
I just saw this and this, and I was like, you obviously want to attack me. Like, we're not gonna do any of this.
Yeah.
Yep. But Inuit decided to set up to attack me for whatever reason. I mean, this is 1 dot, buddy. And, like, you could have, like, more than 1 dot.
Inuit are just really allowed to go insane if they're not getting pressured from the south here.
I mean, yeah, in negotiations with Inuit, I was basically like, I don't want any of this. Like, this is too far away from me. I don't want it. I just want, like this. This would be nice. But that
Yeah,
wasn't
that's France's natural goals, I think.
natural borders of France. Where have we heard that one before?
You'll get them through violence or
Something.
diplomacy, whichever one works.
There's like some cooperation between Portugal and England here, but it's clearly not like major because of this and like this whole thing. So I don't know why they're cooperating here, but they are. This is just some tactical BS to make sure that Oxford falls and England doesn't get anything in Europe. So yeah, you bounce them in Wales, you take Oxford and fall. I thought that England was going to try to do like this, and so I was setting up to have fleets going up that way, but like just a small opportunity cost, no big deal. I core everything. This is a prearranged bounce with Austria because we're chilling. Other than that, for me, I'm just getting fleets out in the south. Portugal is like, I think this is like an attempt to attack me a little bit, but like it's not gonna do anything.
I guess they were selling out with Ageron if they're not worried about them.
Kind of, but
I mean,
like,
Ageron does seem to be
still,
completely attacking Congo.
but he's still doing this. So like, I don't understand why Portugal was doing all of this, but it makes no difference because I can just self-bounce in Cape Coe, lose nothing, and I can force him to bounce himself in Sakalava. So like, whatever.
Yeah, this doesn't gain Portugal anything.
It just makes me mildly annoyed. So yeah. Other than that, because my moves are straightforward, this is like a preemptive thing with Dutch, where if I need the build, he'll just put his army back out, and if I don't, he'll just hold on to it. Yeah, it's like no big deal, basically. Other than that... Sorry, go ahead.
What are your negotiations with Spain like? 'Cause I think they can sway your fight with England if they want to.
I spent a lot of time offering Spain, like most of the English Caribbean. Like we were going to set the border at this line, which I feel is pretty good for Spain. But through most of the negotiations, he was basically like, I don't have the builds to actually put like a fleet here and a fleet like here and go do that, which I think is kind of BS, but kind of true. It was just annoying regardless, right? I'm like, come on, let's take care of this. But he wasn't like hostile or anything. As you can tell by moves in Europe, we're still honoring this like kind of DMZ border. He's moving towards Ottomans and not me, so we're not having any problems directly. But, you know.
Interesting. Okay. I think Spain is still kind of playing all sides here. They haven't really committed in any direction, so they're kind of a wild card in any fight.
Yeah.
Pretty well played so far.
No complaints. Alright. Okay, so, yeah, other than that, Mughals is going this direction.
Fully stabbing Ming when I don't think she told anyone about this. She's not coordinating with Ayutthaya. This is just purely a stab on me. She didn't tell me about this. Didn't try coordinating with me. Didn't try coordinating with Qing, from my knowledge. Yeah, I think this is just fully a stab on me with no backup at all. Which is really unfortunate because she's now getting pressured in her west.
Yeah, it's
so
not,
that's interesting.
Not ideal. Let's see. Other than that, yeah, that's about it. So now we go to fall.
Yep.
And here we are.
I guess I'll start with my side first. So, Poland does not do our agreed upon moves like in Sweden here, which does not set the tone well for our alliance going forward. The plan we agreed upon was that he would take Stockholm from Bothnia with that fleet there, and that would be great for me because then the northern fleet wouldn't be able to pressure my presumed gains.
Mm-hmm.
And I agreed to support that end to kind of encourage that. And I explicitly told him not to convoy in, and that is exactly what he ends up doing. So I'm kind of worried that this is indicative of the stab on me, especially because I did not enter the moves to guarantee Helsingfors. So I'm a little worried here because if we coordinated better on this, right, we could have had both centers guaranteed, and instead we're only getting one of them here. So
And he has an
it's
army in
not,
Stockholm, which is just anti-you in every way.
yeah. He's got two fleets or two. He's got an army and a fleet on it, and I'm still at war with Sweden, right? So if he wants to turn on me and attack me, then he definitely can.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sweden is still very upset at both of us. I don't know if Sweden would be willing to flip. I'm pretty sure Sweden has been going to both of us and offering each of us some kind of a janissary deal where they'd stay on what they have and help us attack the other. And what at least I'm doing is kind of pretending to agree with that and then just not doing it in the end. And at this point, it's been going on for a while. Sweden kind of knows that it's just not going to happen. So I think Poland is getting the same offers
Mm-hmm.
and also not going through with them. But a move like this makes me think that they might. But a convoy is also equally bad for Sweden here, so it's just weird in general for them to be doing this.
Yeah.
So that's not looking great. On the Ottoman front, Austria makes some progress. Me and Poland don't, but I don't lose anything, so that's pretty nice. I do actually manage to take back Shachi here, and I actually do manage to keep working with Persia here. So Persia agreed to support me into Tbilisi, and I managed to backfill Shachi here as part of our deal. And they took my core in Astrakhan, which is all arranged. It's all part of our deal. So I'm not exactly the happiest with this, but I think that if I can just keep pressing my advantage on one front, eventually I can kind of turn on the other one, and that's kind of the best way out of
You
this.
kind of
So
kind of get the borders to look kind of like this, and then you just like envelop him like that.
yeah, eventually I can probably manage to take back whatever I lose from them, and that's kind of what my goal is now. Uh, Kill the Ottomans, and then get enough builds from that to turn on Persia. Because it's Ottomans are still refusing to make peace with me. I'm not entirely sure why at this point, because they do have two fleets on Bakhtist right here, but I have three, four, five armies in the area. So it's kind of unclear what they're hoping that they can get from this.
Yeah, there's not much.
Yeah. And with Spain attacking them this turn and with Abyssinia attacking them, I'm hoping that with this many knives in their back, they'll make peace with me and focus on everywhere else. So I'm still trying to pitch that to them. It's a little less genuine now because I think I can dot them for Achikiv, but past that, I think I am fully willing to peace out with them if they are. But they're not, so it doesn't really matter at this point here.
Mm-hmm.
Bugles are completely out of position from their attack on me here, so me and Safavid are continuing to work together. Safavid really could go either way between me and Bugles here. They could decide to let Bugles live and take Yarkan from me
Yeah.
instead. So they didn't, which is really nice. I could have used her fawn to support Yarkand, but with the Bugles and Uzjin, it's pretty much guaranteed for Socrates if they want it. So that's not great. They still can pivot against me if they want to here, but they haven't stabbed me for 2 turns now. So I'm hoping that this will kind of cascade and we can kick out Muggles, kick out Ottomans, and that'll buy me enough time to eventually attack them.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles actually do end up covering Kabul, which is huge because now they can't build a extra army there. That's really nice. So I I don't really care too much about pushing south. I just want it to be possible for Persia to do it. So Persia sees the opportunity there and goes towards Mughals instead of attacking me here. I'm offering supports to Kabul. I'm just kind of offering whatever I can to get them going in that direction instead of against me. Um, the relationship between me and Mughals kind of completely breaks down here. Uh, our there was an offer of a peace deal, but it's pretty much just reverting back to what it was last turn, and I would end up giving them their neutrals. They keep Uzjin, and I would lose Turkestan to Safavid. So it's just kind of not a great deal for me. So I don't take it. And I
Centralization is
think
just never going to be a
they're,
great deal for Russia, I don't think.
yeah, there's just nothing I really get out of it. And right now, I kind of have a better position on them than they do on me. So it makes sense for me to stay and fight this out. I think she's trying to appeal more to Safavids than she is to me, which does make sense, I think. It's also worrying because if that ever ends up going through, then I am back to being in a pretty bad spot. In the east, things are going pretty well. I end up stabbing Ching here. It doesn't go. It's a mixed bag. So evens to Nivix actually goes through, which is huge. I think that Chlorine Spring really worked out to guarantee the center and fall. Evens is a pretty valuable core to have that fleet build in the east, but I think the dot is better, so I go and take that. And it's also kind of fully tells Japan and me that I am with them and that this is going to happen.
But they can be confident they can just
Um,
keep hammering away at Ching and not be tempted to make a separate piece.
yeah, which is huge. And they're also making progress in the south, so that'll help even more. Qing actually takes Ming's capital here, so it's actually kind of nice for me because if King is making progress in the south but still not having bills, then that means that I can take a larger share of the overall dots from this. And if I get most of the dots in the north, then Qing and Ming and Japan are forced to take a smaller share in the south here. So I'm kind of getting more out of this whole thing than they are, which is always very nice to see. And then I'm just kind of moving more armies into position to attack and fall. Uh, Inuits are a little concerning here. They move into Laptev Sea, which is really concerning for me. And they backfill Chukchi Sea, so they're now set up for a convoy into my north, which is my main concern now.
Very annoying.
Athapaska. Hmm?
Very annoying.
Yeah. I have no fleets to counter this. Athapaska is backing away from them. Tokugawa is not attacking them at all. Shoshone can't help because Athapaska just attacked them, and you were also getting attacked by an Inuit Athapaska alliance. So I kind of have no one on the board that can help me out with this. So that's really annoying to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not much at this point I can do about it besides build more fleets and pray that a convoy doesn't happen. That's kind of my end of things.
All right. So I'll just go with my moves. Europe is pretty much unchanged. Africa goes about as you'd expect, except I support myself into Cape Koe because I realized afterwards Portugal has an army here, and so this could cause problems. So I have to support myself in, which is kind of annoying. And I make a deal with Ajuran to support him into Sakalava, which would have landed. But Ajuran works with Portugal instead and goes into Imarina,
Ooh.
which is annoying.
Portugal getting another convoy.
Yeah.
Portugal's moves are really weird. They convoyed into the island, then they convoyed off the island, and now they're convoying back
It's like they just want me
into.
dead, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, kind of questionable.
One of the big mistakes I made here is after this big stab on England, the vibes I'm getting from Spain are basically that, like, because Spain told me that he would be okay with me conquering Corsica. Now,
I don't think he was.
no, when he said that, I did not believe him. For a
Yeah.
second, like, no, Spain is never gonna be okay with France conquering Corsica. So that means Spain is at least heavily considering going to war with me and stabbing me. So I decide.
I'm not sure what he gets from telling you that though. If he's worried about a move towards him,
Any move,
then
it's just a retreat. Like what?
yeah, you just make that move, and yeah, he's just forcing you there. So it doesn't really accomplish much.
Mm-hmm.
He's not worried about you tapping any supports either.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, I just knew immediately when he told me that like this whole thing was about to go south. So I started talking to England because I was like, okay, England, I have this like dominating position, but I think it would be productive if you and I worked together. I basically tell him like I will continue to kill this. I'll not interfere with whatever the Dutch are doing here to finish this off. But what I will do is I will support you into the Bahamas if you leave me out of, like, if you... The deal basically was he gets Bahamas, I keep Campeche and get Saint Domingo, I get Barbuda and force disband this, so I end up with these 4 dots like I wanted originally. He gets back Bahamas, and then he moves his units in, like, this direction, you know? And then, like, this works or whatever, you know, you move, like, this way, things like this. I was basically offering England a good-sized power base to work from, to consolidate, like, this general region, and to continue to be, like this. He could hold on to this, because we'd work together against Inuit, probably get something like this going, and he could hold out here for a while, just by himself, because I wouldn't be doing anything there. He'd have units to hold this decently well, and this would still die because we can't do anything. This is just dead.
Yeah.
But it's whatever. My offer is basically, England, I will let you maintain yourself as a relevant power because it works for my interests, obviously, if you work with me. And England instead, as I'm sure you can guess, leaked just about everything of this to Spain, from what I can tell.
It's always fun.
Yeah, I mean, Spain was already going to stab me, so it's like, whatever, it doesn't matter that much. It just meant that I lost more dots than I really should have. Like, I probably should have... This is the part where I say, like, I'm kind of I'm a player where I'm like self-interest. Like, you may have stabbed me a couple of years ago, but it's clearly in your interest to walk that back a little bit and give me some dots, and I'll take that. So if I was in England's position and I had that offer, I'd probably take it, right? Because, like, dots, and not just dots, but like a coherent power base to build out of, right? And that's
Yeah,
what.
this is pretty much the best deal anyone can hope for in this situation. They can't really betray this deal and get dots off of you from what it looks like maybe Puerto Rico, like what they're doing now, but
Yeah.
that's kind of it because it's all going to Spain, right?
Instead,
So instead of having an ally against Spain and working there, instead they're kind of becoming a vassal to Spain,
yes.
which only works if they completely don't trust you.
Or if they're
And it
just
just
so
takes a
bitter they're
certain,
just throwing to stop me, basically. Which is like, whatever.
yeah,
Whatever. If you
it
like.
just takes a certain type of player. You have to know, and it's just difficult if you end up with the type of player that throws out of fight,
Well,
which sometimes is what you get.
it feels like that's what I got here, which is whatever. It's just annoying. In hindsight, obviously, I would have just, like, not let England get away with all of this. Um, England would have lost more dots and just, like, died, basically. But I was feeling ambitious as well. You know, that's the other portion, at least in my view, is ambition. I was like, you know what? I still feel pretty powerful. I can, like, fight Spain or whatever, and I can bend England to my will over here, and he'll do what I say because, like, come on. It
Yeah,
just didn't work out.
yeah,
And I'm sure England feels really proud about this, and I guess I can understand it a little bit. But I did kill him in the Game of Thrones game just to make sure I didn't have to deal with that. So it
always
was,
gotta remember.
well, he was like, I was kind of almost dead, and he saved me. And then I was like, you know what? I don't think you have this dot near me anymore. So
Fight is a very powerful thing
well,
in this game.
it was a separate game of diplomacy. Just knowing the style of a player impacts how you play. What can I say?
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'm with you there.
but as a result, I lose Anticosti, I lose Papanatois, I lose, what else do I lose? Bahamas, I lose Cap Haitian, I lose Puerto Rico. I think that's about it for losses because of England's stab. But England also gives up any opportunity of ever being like a relevant power, a relevant, coherent power in this game by doing this.
Yeah, that was England's. Assuming if England assumes that you followed through, which you did, then that was their best chance at still consolidating
Yeah,
some kind of
to be
power base because it's
coherent.
year two. It's not too late for this.
Yeah, I mean, but it's whatever. I'm bitter over it a little bit, as you can see. But the effectiveness of just this stab alone kind of makes up for it, anyways.
Yeah, you still. That's year one stat is still like the most brutal thing I've ever seen.
I had to do it.
England just had no shot from that onwards. I mean, their capital is. I don't know how England gets their capital back. They
Uh,
just don't.
I offered them like this power base and like basically non-interference in this whole thing, and with these two combined, you can get this. You can work on me over time to get away from the Dutch. It's workable. It's not like ideal, but it was never going to be ideal when you didn't move through the
Yeah, they'd
English
have
Channel.
to get cores to get builds, though. All their home centers are gone, and Dutch would probably be building. It's doable, but it's hard. England just has a very hard fight back in this variant,
Yep,
or in this game.
in this game, but they gave that up. Oh well. And this was the end of my dominance. This was where the like I am powerful France, no one can fight me, kind of died because it was obviously no longer true.
Yeah, Spain throwing their lot in with England does make things significantly harder.
It was really England throwing this line in with Spain, though. Honestly,
Yeah,
like
Yeah, and no one's really giving Spain a lot of pressure either.
No, this was the
Um,
downside of my like, look at me, I'm so powerful, is that everyone like Spain just kind of slid under the radar in a lot of ways.
mhm.
Just
Portugal's not fighting them. South America is going
decently.
kind of well for them. North America, I don't think they're facing a lot of pressure there either. Shoshone is kind of fighting them, but the Athabasca stab means that they're just going to get wiped out now.
Yeah.
So Spain's in a really good spot.
Yes, I'm envious of this position all of a sudden. I guess for other moves that we didn't talk about that much, there's this attack into Ottomans from the south.
Mhm. Congo
Congo,
not having a great time.
yeah, getting double teamed by, or like triple teams kind of, because Dutch, it's weird.
Is Dutch attacking?
Uh,
They're
well,
it's like a
it,
mutual stab that looks of it.
yeah, except Congo gets way more out of it. This is just the Dutch making sure that Congo can't use this unit to support this one this way, just for a little tactical spice, as it were.
Yeah, Congo kind of needs everything that they can get to hold against this, though.
Well, also they didn't. Portugal stabbed them, and they didn't foresee that, so that's not good.
And that's brutal.
The east is kind of chaotic. There's like this joint,
Beagles attacking Dutch.
yeah,
Interesting.
and like this bounce and this convoy, and this is just a bunch of chaos.
What is Portugal doing? Are they?
Oh, this is from the south. This is a bounce from Mapuche trying to get towards the Portuguese colony here.
Oh, so Mapuche and Portugal are fighting now. That's gonna be
Yes.
interesting. So Dutch kind of have a free hand to fight Ayutthaya, and Spain is gonna play Kingmaker. Or no, Spain's attacking Dutch now.
Yeah,
So
because I'm allied to Dutch as well, so it all kind of blows. Like this is the turn where everything just blows up everywhere.
yeah, at least Dutch left your Cayenne
Yeah.
colony alone.
Well, like I said, this is kind of our
Nice of them.
agreement. He leaves this. He gets Seneca. He holds on to Plymouth, and we are chilling. Yeah. So let's go. What is this? This is spring. Oh, wait a second. That's no. This is
I think
fall.
this is fall.
This is not updated. Um, right. Onwards. Builds. I magically still get a build. So Fleet Quebec, because God
Yep.
knows I need it to hold on to all of this. And I think that's a no Fleet Réunion as well to try to claw back this, which was I think a mistake. I don't know that this makes much of a difference, and this is all dead anyways. So I probably should have held back on that fleet. I should
This
have,
is the bank calling in your loan.
yeah, I should have kept my fleet here. I disbanded this fleet in retreats. I should have kept the fleet in Europe to contest Spain a little bit. But I was trying to like, make Spain like me again, because I don't see a way I can fight Spain in this position, given like this went really poorly for me.
Definitely. Yeah, he needs some kind of help in Europe, or Spain just kind of
I need someone to.
destroys.
I basically just tell Spain like, hey, you can't really get much out of me in Europe, so let's done. Which is kind of true. Like if I have an army here and here and here, then like, and like here, here, like 4 armies just stop Spain. He can't do much to me. As long as I
Yeah,
have those armies.
it's as hard for Spain to push against you than it is for you to push against them.
Yeah.
I can see Spain just focusing on the Med and wrapping that up.
Yes, he's having a good time, as it were. So Spain and I do start discussing around now a joint attack on Austria, because it gets him to not attack me, and it gets one of his armies to convoy across into Italy, which is good for me because it means those armies are not attacking me. But it's bad for me long term because an army here and an army here can apply pressure in this direction, which like completely kills my lines of defense. But I'm just not sure I have any other options than to compromise my long-term positioning to try to shore myself up right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I think those are my builds. So how are your builds looking?
So I got 3 this turn. So the main priority here was defending against that fleet in Laptep Sea, so I built 2 fleets on my end to both block him from getting into Car Sea, and he's probably going to move to Greenland Sea in spring here and try to pressure Spitsbergen
with
that
this.
way. So my main priority is to kind of block that angle of attack and to also block the convoy angle. I can't block the convoy in spring, but I can at least set up to block a second convoy in fall, if that's what he ends up going for. So, yeah, 2 fleets to kind of defend that angle, and then I grab an army to help out against Qing here.
Just to secure like this kind of border-ish, right?
Yeah, leaving that dot open just leaves open a lot of things that I'd rather just have guaranteed. So I think it's just better to secure the line.
This or this.
And that lets my central armies kind of do more against Mughals as well. So it's pretty nice. Soft defeats asked for no build in the middle and against in Tara, and I'm not even going to try for that other one.
Let's see.
With
Ver Couturier. Yep.
I don't love leaving those open, but the thought process is that any army build there is immediately hostile to Persia, and that's not something I want to do right now because I need them to work with me against Bugles, against the Turks. They're kind of a necessary part of any plan I have to get back into this and move forward. So I can't afford to be overtly hostile.
Yeah, I think maybe your only
And
recourse here is probably to put one of these 2 armies right here. And then,
yeah,
like, that way, if he goes here, he doesn't get it. If he goes here, you just bounce this, and it's like a wash.
that was my plan. If I just move there, then even if he does decide to get ideas and move aggressive, then I can just block it. So it looks really bad on paper, but it's actually still workable.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's ugly. You don't like the look of it. But it's like a lot of tactical expertise on our ends, I think, where we can just kind of see these, like, not ideal, but the workable solutions.
Yeah, and with the 2 fleets, I'm really kind of forced to be a little thin on the ground here. So I kind of
Luckily,
just have to make do.
luckily, Persia doesn't actually have that much to use against you. Like, he can maybe take Yarkand, but getting up
Yeah.
here is just not something he's capable of, unless Kiva is a core. And if Kiva's a core, then you can get something like this going. But until then, you can't, and you'll have a warning when he tries that.
Yeah, I'll be able to see it coming. Sweden and Qing actually disband units next to me, which is really nice to see.
Yeah.
These weren't at all coordinated; they just kind of happened that way. But I will take what I can get.
You get well. You'll actually be taking Karakoram, so you can
Yeah,
get yes.
that center is guaranteed. The Sweden front gets a little easier to deal with as well because Piskov gets taken off the board.
So you
So
can.
Novgorod is now completely free to go north.
Although Poland is getting a lot of leverage right in here.
Yeah, I just need one more year of Poland not attacking me to kind of secure my gains over here. At this point, I'm still committed to working with them. Sweden needs to be wrapped up, and uh, down south, I cannot afford to turn them against me, or I immediately lose my I lose a Bakhchisaray to the Ottomans, and if Moscow gets too much pressure on that, then I
Then this whole thing
kind
could
of
just
just get
collapse.
collapsed on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ottomans do go negative here. So they do have disbands. I tried really hard
This
to
one.
get them to get rid of one of the Black Sea fleets. I told them that it was pretty clear that they weren't going to get anything further off me. There wasn't much progress to be made when I have 4 armies, and it just looks really stalemated here, especially with Persia kind of backing me up. So I tried that pitch, and he wants to continue to fight things out and see where things go. So not much I can really do there.
Yep.
I
Ah,
think
well.
that's everything relevant in builds.
Yeah, other than that, I guess we have Austria gets a couple more builds. Poland builds. This fleet being built by Poland rather than an army here is a good sign for you for now, at least.
Definitely.
Let's see. Spain builds armies here, which is not good for me, but not terrible because 3 armies is not like workable. That like kind of do like this with a convoy. So like it's not
Yeah,
good.
this is more hostile to Portugal than anything, but
Although
Gibraltar is kept free.
yeah, it's like it's most hostile to me, but it's kind of workable at least. Mughals just gets a bunch of more armies. Army for Ayutthaya and a fleet. More fleets for Tokugawa. And units for Ajuran, units for Abyssinia. Aymara gets one. And a fleet for Mapuche, even though Spain decided to be a little annoying. That won't last, because they'll do this.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
And just continuing to get as many units as they can.
Yeah, so spring of 44. Quick. I'll start with my moves first, I guess, and then we'll get into you. This is where convoy of the Eldritch convoy happens.
Oh wow, it looks like some kind of
Yeah, we'll just
ritual or something.
yeah. Is this? Sorry, this is the.
Where is that even going?
This was a convoy from Valencia to Naples, but it did not work.
Okay.
It failed.
Is Spain trying to go from 2 different routes here? Because
No. So
all
Spain, so the thing is that the maritime borders are here, 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 and here. So in order to get to Italy from Valencia, because if you do Barcelona, you just do this and you're fine. But to get to Italy from Valencia, you have to go down, up, and around. Maybe if I illustrate it with a different color. 1 second. To go down, up, and around and in. But the way the bot was drawing it was every single fleet was getting a line to indicate that it was supporting the convoy of that to there.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yes.
And I think it gets in.
Nope.
Right? Yeah.
No.
It's Austria. Oh yeah, it gets bounced.
Bounce.
Okay, so that doesn't even work.
No, it's just a bunch of lines. But it's good for me because it means Spain is willing to go against Austria, and I am currently stabbing Austria because I really need dots.
Makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, more Atlantic stuff for me, less Atlantic stuff for Britain. This is just like a bunch of like tactical magic I'm trying to employ here to try to get something out of this. Like I have my fleet going to Massachusetts Bay, which is good. Port Royal is surviving. It's complicated. Like this is the tactics are annoying. Athabasca and I kind of agree to a truce here, basically, because it's just not worth it for him to attack me right now. But he doesn't agree to help me attack India yet, unfortunately. So I'm still stuck there. In the Caribbean, it's just like I'm trying to conduct magic, basically. The idea is to get like this fleet out here and put a unit here and somehow retain a center in Haiti, and then if I have a fleet out here, then I can pressure Barbuda and I can keep like these 3 And if I keep these 3, then I still have a fighting chance to kind of pressure out this way, especially if Spain isn't overtly supporting England. But it's still hard. And in Africa, it's just a wall. Like, it's just not good.
Yeah. That's not gonna last for too much longer.
Yeah, no, this is just like no Africa for me. Other than that, England is still alive in India for whatever reason. I don't know how.
Portugal just hold both their units there?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Indeed.
They could have taken centers too.
Like that one. Dot. See dot, take dot,
Yep.
right? Although I guess
I don't know why they wouldn't take dots.
For next game, we'll leave Portugal with a good pair of glasses right here. See,
yeah.
You can see the dot, okay, right here. You can see the dot right there.
They don't want to take it.
Guess maybe instead of square, maybe it'll be more convincing if it's like a pair of rectangular glasses, right?
Yeah.
Or we gotta
kind of better.
Gotta make the glasses look cool. I don't know how to make glasses look cool. My glasses don't look particularly cool. But we do kind of like this.
Here we go.
Like, no. Well, this kind of has to be a bit more. Like, the first lens looks really good. So we'll do this. You kind of get like that, right? And then we'll shade it like that. There
right.
Okay.
Gotta get the shades in.
Okay. See
there you go.
See the dots right there. Dots. Go for them. Right there. Right there. Right there. Look. Dots.
I feel like he's trying for the southern one here, but I just don't understand why he's not positioning for it, because he could have done 3 on it, right?
Yeah, you can.
If he moved to Talagar. Obviously, he feels good about Mughals not attacking him, so I'm not sure what exactly is the plan here, but
yeah, because like if Mughals were going
the
to
glasses
attack you,
should help.
then you'd lose this one like right away, man.
Yeah, you would have gone for the bounce there.
So you know.
Yeah, maybe the glasses will help out with that.
Yeah, Ayutthaya starts attacking Mughals, which means Mughals will lose this, and Mughals will probably lose this too. Actually, they do lose this like immediately.
Yeah. And they're completely pivoting to the west.
They picked a bad time to be like, okay, the war in the east is over, let's go this direction. But a good time for you.
Yep. And this is going great for me. Great in a way, best way that I can hope for. So, tactics against Qing are actually insanely good here. It kind of looks like we predicted Qing's exact moves here, because we have the exact counter, like, in this set. I walk into Kishahar.
The fact that this unit just there. Okay, sorry.
It's a little. I don't know why they held that, but that works out great for me.
Yes.
But yeah, I get 2 of their centers here. I'm set up for a 3rd, so I can take a Ikure or Highland Pao in fall. So I'm pretty well set up here. Nivix is a bit hard to hold, but I'm hoping Japan will support me, and with Japan's support, I should be fine here. I think this is a pretty easy +3. Ming takes back their capital, and Japan's helping them take Qing's capital, so that's solid there. And at this point, we're starting to talk about what to do after Qing. I'm hoping at this point to work more with Japan against Ming, because Ming is very occupied with the Mughals and Ayutthaya.
Yeah, this is
there's been a lot of. It's a very volatile area. So Ming is probably the weakest partner in the alliance right now. So I'm hoping that we can just kind of clean him up right after, and me and Japan will continue on our way. Because I have no place to fight Japan with.
Just kind of set this border and just go like that.
Yeah. I think I need a hard ally Japan here. Inuits are still a massive problem for me. and Japan is the only power that can really help me deal with this. I'm trying to get their fleets in the North Pacific to blow up Chukchi Sea, which they do not do.
It bounces Spain.
He's very non-committal in the area. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing, but he doesn't want to help me against help me take Alaska. He's not telling me what direction he wants to go in, which makes me a little worried.
He just doesn't have
But
enough.
he does.
He's just not exercising power over the Imperial like he should. He should be exercising like absolute control over North Pacific and using that to project power here and in this direction and in this direction.
Oh,
unbiased.
We don't want him getting fleets on Koryax, so I kind of like this North Pacific a little bit better. I'm sure he would like all 5 fleets there.
That's what I was doing last game. It was just I had 5 fleets in MPO and I was like, attack.
That is so hard to break though, especially with like Russia, because you just do not have the fleets to contest it. Ming is not building fleets to contest Japan either, so I think both of us are going to go into Japan here to kind of persuade Japan to attack the other. I'm just hoping that my appeal works more, because I look pretty solid here. Ming is seeing some success against Mughals, but Ayutthaya is getting the dots from that, so they're still relatively weak. So as long as we can kind of convince Japan that Ming is an easier stab than me, I think I'm in a pretty solid position going forward. Safavid does not stab me for the 3rd turn in a row, which is always nice to see. That bouncing Akimola was coordinated, so that's completely fine.
Got a bit of a love affair here. How do you draw a heart? Like this, and then this, and then like that.
We still have some DMZs there. The plan is to get the fleet into Caspian and Zarts into Astrakhan and convoy that south.
Yeah,
and he makes the exact moves he said he would, so that kind of leaves me feeling confident. He is backing away from Ottomans, though.
Yeah, this is a bad sign. Like, you'd ideally want him to be doing like this, and supporting himself in like this, and just really doing this and just crushing his flank.
He really could just collapse in on the autos and fully. He could be like the final nail in the coffin here.
Could have dotted this.
But instead, he's kind of propping them up. I think he's more worried about the alliance between Abyssinia and Azeron, potentially the Ottomans, and then moving on to him. And that's kind of one of the reasons why he's propping the Ottomans up instead of killing them. But it's still a very bad sign for me, right? Because he still can kind of reverse course, and instead of convoying Zarzan out, he could move in. Yeah, he could also move into Kazan and convoy Tehran in, which is worst case scenario for me. And then he's got 2 armies on.
He could have an army
Moscow?
there and there. Actually, he could do this way instead.
Yeah, he's got a lot of options with that fleet convoy, and not attacking the Ottomans despite support holding me. Like, he's still making pro-me moves, but he's not
committed.
Willing to commit. Yeah. So I think what he's trying to do here is get like a favorable peace with the Ottomans. And I'm kind of trying to use this to get peace with the Ottomans as well. I pitch as more Safavids are clearly working with me, and with Safavid's help, you're never taking another dot in this area. So it's better to make peace with me and focus on the 4 other people that are all clearly trying to attack you than it is to spend 5 units trying to get dots off of me.
And failing.
And yeah, he still hasn't taken a single thing off of me this
He's actually
entire
lost.
game.
He's actually lost a dot to you in this war.
Yeah, he does actually back out of Black Sea, which is a nice sign. I prefer if he did it with his other fleet as well, but baby steps.
Baby steps.
So I hope we're just kind of getting there. I don't know what's going through his mind right now. I think I'm hoping Austria, Abyssinia, Ajar, and just everyone else attacking him is enough to make him realize that he does not need to add me to that list. But it's not working as well as I want it to. So that's a little annoying. But at least Poland is still on my side here. We're still working well against the Ottomans in the south here.
Yeah.
Actually, reading some Ottomans comments later in the game, I think the reason why he kind of was against me here was because of this alliance with Poland, and that he kind of viewed us as a existential threat that he needed to fight no matter what.
I don't know if I see
Where
it that
my
way.
point of view, I need to ally Poland here no matter what because the Ottomans
Yeah.
are so set on attacking me.
Yeah, because the moment you
So
stop,
just kind of,
you just die.
yeah. I can't afford to attack Poland with hostile fleets in the Black Sea here. It's just never going to work for me. So it's just kind of a never-ending cycle of us needing to attack Ottomans, so Ottoman never feels comfortable backing out of the area, so they keep attacking the Ottomans, and just goes on and on.
Yep.
This does look to be Sweden's final, maybe not final year, but
Final stand.
pretty brutal turn for them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gone.
Poland is claiming like miscommunications over last turn's moves and why they convoyed in and didn't do our agreed upon moves relative to Stockholm, but they did do exactly what they said they would this turn, so I'm pretty happy with this. I'm pretty set up to get Trondheim and Helsingfors. So Sweden will be left with Christiania, and that's it
Bergen.
from this year.
You can get Bergen.
Are they taking Bergen?
He could, because he has a fleet here.
Yeah, looks like he is. So yeah, he'll be left on 2 dots, but it's nothing the opponent can take. I do accurately predict the Inuit fleet moving to Greenland Sea, but that wasn't exactly a hard one. So I'm hoping. I still want to take Trondheim and fall here, so I'm making a lot of pitches to England to bounce out and fall. I think at this point, England and Inuit are working together somewhat. So
yes, they are. They are. This is them working together against me.
Yeah. So that's pretty rough, but I actually do get England to help broker a peace deal between me and the Inuit fleets. So that's kind of something that he approached me and offered to do, which does help a lot because I will take anything to peace out with those hostile fleets. I don't want them coming near Spitsbergen. I don't want to risk him coming for Koryaks. And this war with Inuit is clearly something that I can't win at the moment. Athapaska still refuses to attack him.
Yep.
You're in no position to take dots off him, so I need to get out of this war if I can. So those peace talks start this phase, but they haven't really gone anywhere yet. But no Inuit convoy in the north does make me more comfortable in this, because now I can pick out that fleet in Laptev, so he can't convoy into the heartland of my. He can't convoy into the center there and really mess with my front against Persia or Qing, which does help a lot. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to reach out to Ayutthaya to coordinate a stab on Mughals. Me and Safavid are trying to rally us two, Ming, Portugal, and Ayutthaya, all against Mughals here to kill them as quickly as possible. And the idea here is to kind of for us two to hold the line in the west while Mughals pivot towards us. Ming and Ayutthaya will collapse the east, and from there the Mughal disband should open up to allow us or Portugal to gain dots somehow.
It just collapses.
And yeah, and if Mughals and if Safavi can take Delhi here, then I think I can finally breathe a little easier because then they have a valid way to expand south that isn't through me. So they're not attacking Ottomans, so I need to give them some kind of route that isn't through me to get their expansion in from. So I want Delhi to collapse as fast as feasibly possible, so all these armies in the north will have somewhere to go.
It sounds like a flashback to revolution diplomacy, where you played Russia and coordinated something similar in terms of this.
Yeah, second time's a charm, I hope. It worked pretty well over there, you know? I'm sure Mughal players love me.
All right. Let's see. Other than that, yeah, this is me dying. This is Dutch Africa being wiped.
And Congo is just not having a fun time over there.
Yeah. All right.
Mali, I don't know how Portugal slipped into Sahara. That's
I
interesting.
Look around this way. Tactics.
Yeah.
Right. So fall. Second convoy. I think this is successful. Yeah, this one worked out. I got Freiburg. I got Ireland from Britain, which was very good. Let's see. Dutch gave me Seneca because I needed the builds more at this point. And we're just trading centers, like I said before. I somehow managed to miraculously hold on to some dots in the Caribbean, which I should not be able to do, but I am. England is just throwing dots to Spain here, like this one and this one, and they're trading these, I think.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think Spain is getting a better deal here, but that makes sense given England's position.
Yeah, Athabasca is hostile and he tries to prevent me from doing anything with Ojibwe, but I was moving out of it to prevent Spain from getting this way. So it just kind of goes very awkwardly. Sorry. This position is just painful for me because there's not much flexibility, I guess. And I like flexibility, but there is none.
Yeah.
Nothing left. I hold on to some in Africa, but not an extensive amount. And that's about it for my moves, actually. There's just not much more to say about the French position. I'm coining Boston because I want to do this still, but yeah.
Makes sense. I guess just kind of trying to hold out wherever you can.
Yeah, stem the bleeding, wait for circumstances to change, and strike back.
Yep. So things are going a little south on my end too. I was asking around a lot this phase to potentially get a stab on Persia here. I kind of saw a way to take Astrakhan back and still hold most of my territory elsewhere. And so I was talking to Ottomans mainly about it, and I think Ottomans may have leaked a lot of those talks based on these moves here because I eventually decided to kind of half stab them. I moved into Akamoa here, but I didn't move against them anywhere else. And Sotheby's decide to fully attack me here. So I'm losing Yarkand. They're not convoying out of Astracon,
They're doing
and
this
I'm
actually.
losing. Yeah, that's always fun. I'm losing to Blixie here. That army's popped. Um, Turkestan doesn't move into Kazakh. It's Coring, which is arguably worse, but I think that's slightly better for the situation that I'm in. But
For now.
it's just kind of where things start to go south because not only do Safavids gain even more position against me, but their alliance with Ottomans is just solidified once more, and it's kind of just proves that Ottomans are never going to be willing to work with me if they're seeing the position of last turn and then deciding to turn on me now.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. So I kind of just write off working with them for pretty much the whole game here.
Yeah, because
And it's just
they've
all
made
I can
clear.
do.
They've kind of made it's like kind of similar to England on Maya. Not as bad, obviously, but they kind of made clear that their vision sees more of like this, right? Than it
Yeah.
does like this. What is it? Be like kind of like this kind of empire.
Yeah, Ottomans are just never going to work with me from the looks of it, and Safavids are the same way. I do think Safavids are a little justified here. If Ottomans did leak my plans, then they are fully justified in attacking me. But it is still very painful to see. Those armies in the north are staying in the north. It looks kind of arranged with Meagles in the south. I'm not sure. They're not making. They're kind of making aggressive moves in the seas, but they're not attacking on land. So I'm not entirely sure what's happening there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of. My thought process here is that I need to send every army I have into the Central Asian front here and just and hold what I can on the east and the west. And hopefully, if I just send enough armies into Central Asia, then something there will break, and then I can kind of start to gain again. I I did lose some territory, but I'm not like dead yet. So there's still a way to come back from this because I am still building this year. I managed to take a loss just from Chink. I think I'm +3 on them.
Mm-hmm.
So Ching is going pretty well.
Yeah, you get this and this and this.
Yeah. Then moving to Brigadia is annoying, but I should have enough fills to deal with it. They have like 1 or 2 centers left after this phase, so
They have
they're pretty much not a power anymore.
yeah, they could have held on the 2 by doing like this kind of thing, but
Yeah,
or
it's just a guessing game,
or this kind
and
of thing.
they guessed wrong in the looks of it.
Yep.
So they're pretty much dead. Inuits kind of agreed to back off of me here. I think I agreed to give them Koryaks in exchange, which I did not do.
They didn't even go for
So
it though, so it's not like it's a broken deal.
true, true. I think they still want that back, but that's kind of I'm kind of saying that I'll give it back to get them to get out of my northern seas. But at this point, I have no real intention of doing so. I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of want a white peace, and hopefully they agree to that and just kind of leave it alone.
Yeah, they just chill.
They do, they do move to Greenland Sea, which is not ideal. but I'm hoping that's more anti-England than it is anti-me, especially since they did back out of Laptev. And Poland and I kind of fully demilitarize here. They still have the army in Narva, which I don't love the core there.
Yeah, this scoring is only hostile to you.
Yeah. But at this point, with the Safavid stab on me, I don't think it's a smart idea to start raising a lot of concerns to Poland.
Yeah, you want him to think that you don't even notice. You're like, la di da di da. Oh, Poland's
Yeah.
calling Narva. That's just such a good thing. I love that Poland's calling Narva. Let me go back to fighting Safavids.
Yeah, just pretend everything's fine, and then maybe one day it actually will be. Kind of the idea. But yeah, just kind of pretend to ignore the core, but inside I'm just panicking over it. But they are backing out of the Sweden area, so that's better. There's no second convoy in, which is the real. That's how I'll know that they're going to attack me here.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping, at the very worst, I think that's about a year until they attack me. They'll probably want to finish the core on Narva and then get some builds to attack me with. And that's kind of what I think Poland would do if they're attacking me. So my main plan is to instead point to Austria here and scapegoat them. So point to Austria, say, "Hey, Poland, Austria's looking really weak right now. You should just go attack them."
Yep.
And Poland actually really likes this plan, from what I'm hearing from them. They already have the fleets in the area to kind of attack in that northern Germany area, so Poland is kind of thinking of pushing there, building in Krakow, and it's taking a steady push west. I don't like Austria being weakened. They are pretty useful against Ottomans here, but it's better for them to die than for Poland to attack me. So I gotta do it to them.
Do what you
Unfortunately,
must.
it's either them or it's me, and I'd much rather it be them.
All right. 1644. I'm just gonna give a good overshot of the map.
Yep. Yeah, I think this is a good part to call it,
All
and we
right.
can record part 2 later this week.
Sounds good. So this is part 1 of the King of Prussia Assault AAR. There we go. All right. So I guess to everyone watching, thanks for tuning in, for hearing all the great stories of all the good things we had. We were sitting here at the start, and everything was up, 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 up. The line was going really far up. We were making so much money. And now you're starting to see that leveling off. And in part 2, get ready to see the Great Depression.
Sure.
It's all the way down.
Sure, it'll be fine for us.
I mean, France is gonna come back. Listen, it's a stagnant,
Yeah.
but like we're gonna go.
You need the comeback arc, you know?
I'm gonna roll a 9 in the shock phase, and Spain is just gonna disappear.
Spain actually is gonna just hold everything from here on out, I'm sure.
We're gonna recolor Spain. We're gonna recolor Spain. Okay, it's gonna be nice and blue.
I think that actually looks a lot better, you know?
There we go. And then
you can color Poland green and Persia. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
It's a lot nicer color, I think.
This is foreshadowing. Just kind of like this.
Sorry for the spoilers, everyone.
Yeah, spoilers, guys. Kind of kind of get all of this going. You know, this is foreshadowing. This is going to be part 2, like that.
Just take over the map.
There we go. All right. So yeah, we'll see you guys in the next part. Adios.
Adios.